was watching this now, they probably wouldn't even know that we had a false start.
A false start.
We had somebody. Tyler thought he heard the gun, but it was actually a fart. It was a loud fart, and then you started running. And it was. They
sound very similar in my defense.
They can.
Okay.
They both crackle.
They do both crackle. Okay. Live on YouTube, as we should be.
When are we getting a Jamie?
We need some cash.
We set up a GoFundMe for a Jamie. We need it. What is his last name even? Does anybody even
Vernon.
Know? Vernon? Okay, we need a Jamie Vernon.
Oh.
Please.
Working on Rumble. Okay. We're live. Finally. We got this sorted out.
That was aggressive, man.
Yeah. Well, listen. It's been a journey.
You're at an 8. I'm going to need you at a 5.
Listen, I'm going right up to a 9.5 here.
This is going to be great. This is going to be bad.
So you've heard about this story here. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
See it? Can they see it on the thing?
Yes, they can see it. It's
the Spotify story.
Yes,
I know all about
that before I go 100% in. Yes.
I even commented heavily on Facebook about this.
Alex has been an internet warrior about this.
That's right. I've been trolling. The internet.
No, there's a difference between trolling and being an internet warrior.
That's true.
All right.
That's true. All right. I'm not a troll.
Okay. So we'll just kick this right off. I guess probably almost everybody has heard that Neil Young offered Spotify an ultimatum: remove Joe Rogan for allegedly spreading misinformation, which he didn't specify at all. Nobody
ever does.
They just throw it out there. Misinformation.
It's like you're racist. It's like calling somebody racist.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's like, show your work.
It's virtue signaling to the mob, right? That everybody hates Joe Rogan now for having scientists on his show that disagree with the mob.
Well, you know what Matt Walsh is. They did the same thing when he was on
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that was I love
funny. When he said,
that was hilarious.
Tell me what a woman is. Oh, a woman's whatever is to each person. No, how about you write it down what the definition of a woman is? I can't see how that's not insulting to people. But anyways, let's carry on.
You're already off topic.
I know.
Yeah. So Neil Young offers Spotify this ultimatum. Remove Joe Rogan's content or remove my content. Spotify pretty much immediately responded. Do we have Spotify's take here? Yeah, they responded with, we want all the world's music and audio content to be available to Spotify users. With that comes great responsibility and balancing both safety for listeners and freedom for creators. Since the pandemic, the spokesman noted Spotify has removed more than 20,000 COVID-related podcast episodes. Still, Young's protests were not sufficient for it to drop its lucrative star talker. We regret Neil's decision to remove his music from Spotify, but hope to welcome him back soon, the spokesperson had. I was just kind of like, thanks, bye.
Well, it's basically saying, hey, once you come to your 76-year-old senses and you realize that we're a massive platform and you didn't gain anything by stamping your feet, holding your breath.
Yeah.
That's all he did. He's like, if you don't take it, I'm gonna hold my breath.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this guy used to be like the sort of pro-freedom sort of...
He's a hippie.
Yeah.
Well, no, but that's the problem. The 60s and 70s hippies are now the progressives. That's the problem.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
they're the ones that went to the universities and changed the universities.
No, you're a little bit off, but you're not 100%. You're not 100% wrong about this, but you're off. The hippies got subverted by Marxists. The Marxists went into the universities and changed everything.
Well, who do you think the hippies were? The hippies are the ones that got...
were not
Listen, the hippies Marxists. Are the ones that got all the diplomas and shit. They're the ones that became the... It's like whether they got
the Marxists went into the universities. The hippies went to Woodstock and did drugs and complained about.
And then
and they grew old.
Well, in between,
they were not. This was not the group of people that were the Marxists. The Marxists are not pro-freedom. The Marxists never were.
Hold on a second. You're saying the hippies then grew old. What did they do for the 40 years between?
They advocated for freedom of speech.
No, they worked somewhere, and they worked in universities, and
it wasn't them in the universities. You're misaligning.
So none of them went to the universities. And
some of them did.
Of course they did.
They weren't the ones
and
subverting.
And they brought their idealistic ideas with them, and they got subverted into different friggin'
It was
ideas.
the Marxists that went into the universities and subverted the culture. The hippies were not Marxists.
So all that's what it was. It was all the Marxists. So they're the ones that got all they became all the professors and shit. No, man.
Yes.
No.
Have you ever been to a university in the last 10 years?
I'm not saying that they're not that.
They're
way.
all freaking Marxists.
I'm not saying that they're not that way, but I'm saying is those people that started out as hippies grew up and they had all these different ideas, all these different socialist ideas. And then they became the people that influenced children.
No, they were not the ones influencing the culture. The Marxists were by design influencing the culture. The hippies grew old. The hippies are fucking out of touch now because if you were a teenager in the 60s and the 20s, they're completely out of touch now. And so what happens is what the Marxists have done is because they're fucking good at politics and propaganda, is they have subverted the language, and so they will come through and use things like the hippies were very much against racism, right? In the 60s and 50s, when racism was a thing, that was a battle worth fighting, the civil rights battle.
Sure.
Martin Luther King Jr. and all that jazz.
Martin Luther King and
well, you're acting like there wasn't a whole plethora.
Martin Luther King and
because there wasn't a whole plethora of stuff
and those
going
guys
on,
there,
at the time, and he was just a figurehead. All of that, you now have the Marxists. They know how to fucking talk to the hippies because they say, "Oh, these people over there are racist." They react emotionally to that because they are out of touch. They have no idea what the difference is, but they have redefined the words. And this goes back into the 70s and into the literature of the social studies where they were really redefining all of these things, and that grew out. So like the hippies are the fucking naive old people today, and then the young people.
So what did they do in the 40 years that they were in the workforce?
What everyone else is. They worked in a factory.
Oh, that's all they did. That's all they did.
They were not the ones.
Come on,
not
man.
the professors.
There was a shit ton of them. You don't think some of them went into the universities and some of them did different things?
Their names are Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
And Brett Weinstein.
Okay, all right. So
there was
a magical.
They were not the Marxists,
there was a magical 100 and whatever. There was a magical million people that we didn't know about in the 70s and 60s and 70s that magically came out of the woodwork and became all the professors and stuff in the university. No, it was
not a million people.
It was people that had idealistic ideas back then that were for movements and things. They're the people that went and got jobs in universities, became professors and became teachers and these kinds of things. And they pushed these little what were like socialist agendas, but they were all nice. I mean, they're all nice ideas. Socialism's a nice idea, of course. And nobody's trying to hurt anybody or take anything from anybody or kill anybody. This isn't like Stalin. This isn't Stalingrad. This is people that think that everybody deserves healthcare and everybody deserves free education. Everybody deserves all these things. And they don't think about how to spend it. They're nice people with stupid ideas. And that's what the hippies did. They eventually grew up and went into the workforce and got some pretty decent jobs and pretty decent positions and became principals and deans and things like that. And they pushed their stupid agenda. And it became a radical agenda over the last maybe 5-10 years with these different movements and things. And all this stuff starts well enough. It starts with great ideas. Or like nice ideas, I mean.
Where the ideas were. Like the Marxists existed during the hippie movement.
Of course they did. They've existed since
Exactly.
Since fucking forever. But you act like it was like all of a sudden that's when they moved in and did all this shit.
No, I'm not the one saying all of a sudden. You're the one saying that all these fucking people all of a sudden went to university.
I said that the hippies are the ones that got all the jobs and shit because they're the ones that started bringing this sort of progressive left movement. It might have been pushed harder.
You shouldn't call it progressive left. You should call it liberal.
Because that's what it is. No, it's not liberal.
The hippie movement was liberalism.
That's insulting liberals. Liberals are like Rogan's a liberal.
Yeah, Rogan's a hippie.
Yeah, but Rogan's a liberal. Rogan's not a progressive leftist.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There's a difference. It's the same with saying a conservative versus an
That's what I'm
alt-right.
saying. When you say that the hippies brought the progressive, like they absolutely did not. Under no circumstances ever did they do that.
Wow, why am I so gassy today?
I don't know what you ate.
No, it's because I didn't eat enough of anything, and I'm drinking beer. And I'm hangry, so this is going to be chirpy. This is going to be chirpy. This one's going to be chirpy. Man.
Chirpy.
All right. Well, anyways, all right. We'll agree to disagree on that sort of start. Let's just get back to what we were talking about because now we've lost track a little with Rogan. I want to get back to it because I read all of this and I've been on top of it the last couple of days and I just thought it was hilarious that like again we talked about it just before the podcast. Neil Young's got some decent music. I mean, he was part of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Nothing against his career, or him as an artist, right?
Yeah.
But back to the original point, the hippies are the pro-freedom, anti-war.
I thought the original point.
Yes, and then you went off about how the hippies were the Marxists.
I thought the original point was this.
No, because Neil Young was a hippie. He's 70 years old. He was. I'm pretty sure he was a very vocal member, and that's why he's in politics now. And the whole point that I was trying to get at. He was, as far as I'm aware, I don't know the details, but as far as I'm aware, he was a very vocal sort of member of the anti-war, pro-freedom movement back in he's in his 70s, so probably like the 80s and the 70s and the 90s. When was he huge? Probably around the time that he was
70s
huge.
and 80s.
Yeah, so I think he was a very vocal member of that whole civil rights thing, and then now because he's old, he doesn't understand what's going on. And maybe even back then, this gets into a deeper point into sort of people's psyche and a topic that I have written down on here that we might touch on later, where it's like he is doing and saying things that he perceives he's not doing them because he has this moral stance to take, because he's not talking about specific things that Joe Rogan has said. Mm-hmm. Or anything like that. He's just using broad language and terms, right? Hand waving. It's as if he's looking at sort of the mob. He's like, what does the mob say is the right thing to do? And I'm gonna do that. And that seems to be what he's doing here, and it's very fucking weird. It's just the only reason I brought that up is because it's weird that somebody who was a part of that pro-freedom, anti-war kind of left-wing movement when the left wing was liberal. He is now gone the complete other way. Now he's pro book burning, right? When you say get rid of Joe Rogan,
it's the equivalent of book burning, yeah.
Yeah, you're literally saying, okay, you Alex, right? I want to make it impossible for you to listen to what Joe Rogan has to say, mm-hmm. and you don't have a right to choose to listen to Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan is dangerous, mm-hmm. right? So you don't have the freedom to choose. I get to choose for you what what content enters your ears. Mm-hmm. That's what he's saying.
No, it's
and that's fucking baffling to me.
But this is everybody says this is like a left thing only. It's both sides. It's the extreme left and the extreme right. It makes up a small minority. Well, no, it's a bigger minority than we'd like to be lately.
Well, that's the thing. It's the left now, because the way the culture shifts, the authoritarian, whatever side authoritarianism lands on, pushes everybody else away who's just trying to live their life.
Sure.
And so there are authoritarians on both sides or all sides. I think it's really weird and maybe overly simplistic to be like there's two sides when there's fucking 12.
No, we just you're lumping into two different groups. Like you're the extreme on the left, the extreme on the right. Because the rest of the people, there's such a medium.
Right, but you got to think about it in the context of the cultural paradigm, like what is left and what is right. Like right now, left is authoritarianism, mm-hmm. plain and simple, right? And right is everything else. You got libertarians, you got anarchists, you got liberals, like proper liberals, you got classical sort of conservative right-wing people. All of that gets lumped in on the right. If the left did away with the authoritarianism and the right did it up, I think a huge portion of those people are just gonna, in the 90s, they're gonna be on the left again. And
I don't know what you mean by that. I think it's so I think the right has always been the right and the left has always been the left. It's just now we see more of it. I mean, you've always had what I always say. No. I just use the 80%. Let me make my point before you disagree. You just quick no.
Well, that was a dumb statement.
I don't think that's a dumb statement.
The left has not always been the left, and the right has not always been the right,
What do you
especially in... Well,
So conservative. So people that were conservative.
go back
weren't
to the
conservative,
90s.
You're saying
well, what is conservative?
conservative is
You're
people
just
that-
saying nothing.
What are you talking about? Conservative are people that like guns, freedom, basically, and less government. It's always been that way. When's that ever changed? That's always been
That's
the
not
case.
true.
For conservatives, have always been that way. Tell me when that was different.
What was it? In like the 80s, the conservatives were the pro-government. They were...
What are you talking about? Fucking, what do you think Reagan did? He was deregulation Reagan. He deregulated everything.
Did they actually call him that?
No, but
They should have.
But he was
Donald Trump should have been
Donald
on that
Trump
team.
is the second president. Donald Trump, I don't think he even deregulated as much as Reagan did. Reagan was the fucking king of deregulation.
Wasn't Trump doing like
you should see some of the you should see some of the you'll like this. You should look it up. You should look up some of Reagan's speeches. He had one back in I think in the 60s before he was even president, talking about big government and the military industrial complex. He has this fantastic speech about it. It's one of the best speeches you're ever going to watch. And it was before he was president. So he was like the first Trump essentially, because they fought him. They tried to make it like he was an idiot. He was an actor and he had no business being president. So it is almost the exact same thing as Trump. If social media had been something back in the 80s, he would have been slandered and smashed just like Trump was. But anyways, so my point was the right and left. They've always been there, but it's like this game is going on where it's like each is trying to, and again, I'm not talking about this meaty middle, which I always consider the 80% meaty middle, somewhere left of center, right of center, that kind of thing. Or, there's nobody that's dead center. But anyways, so these two sides are competing with each other as far as like, okay, we're going to move this shit hard this way. And they hard combat it this way and vice versa. It's like, and then everybody in the middle goes, what the fuck are we doing? What are you talking about with this bullshit authoritarianism and lack of freedom of speech or defunding the police and all this shit? Or like they look the same at the right side. The people that are like marching with their guns and don't take my guns from me. And they're like, whoa, man, like fucking relax. Like there's something in the middle where most people lie, I think. But what I'm saying is that those two sides are just as crazy. It's just we seem to focus a lot on the left because, at least with the right, we go, all right, they're fucking crazy. But they're not trying to take away our freedom of speech or try to create an authoritarianism thing, right? Where the left is. I feel like you want to say something. You got like a look on your face.
I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
But what you're doing is kind of dumb. Like, you're discounting... You're discounting the cultural...
By the way, fuck you. What I'm doing is kind of dumb?
It's kind of.
Oh, okay.
You're discounting the cultural zeitgeist, right? Like, in the culture, in the greater culture, there is the left and there is the right. And that is always the case. And it's not the same throughout history. The fucking Overton window shifts and all that jazz. But you're looking at it like, yeah, it's true. They're fucking 80% in the middle. And then you got fucking extremists on the left and the right, But in the greater culture, you have things that are accepted as left-wing and right-wing that shift at different points in time. And it isn't that the focus is on the left.
I agree with
It's that at the moment, the left is where the authoritarianism is. And everything that...
So do you think... hold on. Before you go into that point, do you think authoritarianism was ever on the right?
Yes.
Tell me when. When was authoritarianism ever
I think
on the right?
you can count Nazi Germany as authoritarian right.
And
I think you can count like the Puritan Christian movement, banned Dungeons and Dragons as authoritarian right.
Hold on a second, though. So how does Nazism...
well, if you want to have the argument about whether Nazism is left or right wing, that's an interesting conversation to be had. But
the communists have always been considered left. So then how does fascism or how does the Nazism fit into modern conservatism?
It's farther right than that. That's how. At least in the political compass.
So you don't think that still exists?
What, the fascism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been right. The far right.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you trying to say?
You just asked me.
But you're saying it's switched, somehow switched.
You just asked me.
So what do you think? Nazism is on the left now?
No, because the right wing is not what's the fucking word? They're not pushing authoritarianism. There are places. If you go on the internet, you can find real Nazis. You can find that.
Yeah, but they've always been on the right.
Yeah.
Right. What I asked you is when have they ever switched? And you said they switched. Somehow they were on the left.
I didn't say that.
But I said the left has always been the left and the right has always been the left. And you said
I said that the left is pushing authoritarianism now.
Right.
They weren't in the past, in say the 90s. In the 90s, the right was pushing authoritarianism, and it was the freaking 90s. It was the Puritan Christian thing. The band Dungeons and Dragons. They were the book burning crowd. Now they are not, like, they still exist, but they're not in the mainstream. There is no right-wing figure in the mainstream. Some people will call Joe Rogan right-wing. Without using, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly. None of these people are out there advocating that we get rid of Dungeons and Dragons because it's satanic. What you're saying. Okay, so I know what you're saying. But go ahead. Before you go on CNN, right. They're saying ban Joe Rogan.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but listen. When was the left, the far left, ever non-authoritarianism?
Never.
Exactly. So what you're basically saying, you said it wrong, but you're trying to say that the right was authoritarian, which I agree with you. But what I'm saying is the left has never not been.
No, I'm saying that cultural changes.
At some point they both become authoritarianism. When you go far enough right, they want to control you with religion.
That's horseshoe theory.
Yeah, when you want to, they want to go with.
Hold
on, but yeah, I just want to make this point real quick before you get into that because that feels like it's going to be longer.
That's a simple point.
Yeah, so the far right's always considered like the religious, like fucking crazies that are trying to control everybody to think the way I think, believe what I believe.
The 90s
and the left is the other way. The left is not religion. It's just authoritarianism.
But it is functionally religion.
Well, okay.
Wokeness it works the same way. It has taken on.
Yeah, it works the same way. But it's
religious
not like
foundation. Yeah, it's not in like
right. It doesn't.
It's becoming organized, which is weird. It's not though. Like
so somehow we just circled around and we agreed with each other. How the fuck did that happen? Because you wanted to. That probably does. You wanted to jump all over me when I made a point.
Because you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Listen, you remade my point essentially for me. It's like you're trying to be contrary to what I said, but then you ended up making my point for me.
No, you're projecting that onto me. That's how you're acting.
You just want to fight about nothing today. I don't know what you want to talk about today. But okay, how about we just get back to this? Because
I thought all related to this.
I just thought it was funny that he put that letter out, and I don't know what way he thought it was going to go. Like really,
it's hard to know.
I feel like his label and shit,
it's
like
hard.
His record label. But so
maybe.
with like him, he doesn't own most of his fucking shit. His record label owns it. Right?
Probably,
they've been sales. Oh yeah, you can probably look it up. I guarantee he owns very little rights to any of his shit.
Big name though he might, because he might have had the opportunity to buy.
You could probably look it up, and I'll bet you anything. But he's been around for so long.
It doesn't matter. I know that he said that. I think he said it, or his agent or whatever said that he's given up 60% of his streaming revenue.
Yeah.
Which who knows how much that is.
But anyways, my point on that is that, what way do you think that he thought this was going to go down? Did he think that Spotify was going to go, okay, listen, we got the number one podcast in the world, arguably the most popular show in the world right now. What's it, like 11 million views every episode or something like that on average? It's something like that. Like it's
the most popular.
It crushes the top 3 news organizations combined. Yeah,
it's not even news organizations.
But I'm saying, people.
What's the most popular fucking TV show right now? It probably pales in comparison to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah. I mean, but if you look at shows like Seinfeld or like Friends and stuff back in the day, man, holy shit.
Maybe not. Yeah.
But they wouldn't. I don't think it'd even touch those. Because those were crazy what they were getting.
Yeah.
But
that's a different time.
TV's dying. It's a different.
Yeah, because that's what people did. Now you can go on the internet. You can.
But anyways, like my point is, what did he think they were going to do? Did he think they were going to go? Okay, listen, Neil, you're right. We're we're gonna back off. We're gonna kick this guy off, or we're gonna somehow fucking censor him. So tell him what he can't talk about. When really that's what keeps him popular.
I think it's just virtue points.
You know what I think it is?
I think it's all.
I think it's hubris. I think this asshole thinks he's so fucking special that somehow people were gonna go, oh my god, Neil Young wants Joe Rogan off. Yeah, he's the general
possible
to attack him. Fuck you, pal. I love that they so quickly went, okay, cool, we'll pull your shit off. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, asshole. That's what you get.
Yeah,
and I'm not even the type to like.
It could be hubris. I think it's just like virtue points.
Yeah,
I think it's just signaling.
Though? But why though? Like, is he?
Well,
he's not really in the mainstream.
I don't understand it either, but people do that.
He's 76. I think he's got stupid ideas in his head, and he's like...
Well, he's got this idea that he's right,
and he probably,
but he's an idiot.
No, I know. What probably happened is somehow over time period, he got so angry about it. Somehow. You know what I mean? And then just...
Well, yeah, that's what you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
With the dreaded word, mass formation psychosis.
Yeah.
He could be one of those people that has kind of fallen into that, especially as an older person. It's a little easier to get roped into the propaganda and, like, fear... because you are in the high risk category, even though the risk is still relatively low. You're in that risk category, and
it could also be too that he's getting to the twilight of his life, and he's getting
a little.
Well, I mean, but seriously, I don't mean to be a dick when I say it, but he's up there, right? So he's getting towards the end of his life, and maybe he feels like I haven't been relevant for a while. And maybe this is the way, I tag myself to Joe Rogan somehow. And now I become relevant as a fucking freedom fighter.
I feel like that's more like something you do like in your 40s and 50s, though.
Yeah, but you don't know. People go through weird fucking things, right? It's like, you have different points in your life where you all of a sudden your mind changes and you do some weird fucking shit, or like you see men in their 40s and 50s and they go get a sports car and they get a young girlfriend or something because it's just some weird bullshit midlife crisis crap. Maybe this is end life crisis.
Yeah, that maybe there's something to it.
I don't know. It's like it's stupid.
I feel like there's got to be research.
You know what I hope it is, though? You know what I hope this is? I hope this is a good fucking lesson for any other asshole that comes out and goes, hey, you know what? I'm going to attack Joe Rogan or anybody else that they don't want, Tucker Carlson or these people, and they go, I'm going to attack these people, and I'm going to use my clout to do this. And they see what happened to Neil Young, and they go, you know what? Maybe I'm not going headlong into this fight. Maybe I'll just shut the fuck up.
I feel like with the headlines, it's going to, in a different way, maybe encourage people to do it for clout. Yeah, maybe. For attention.
Well, people attach their little ships to bigger ships all the time, right? So, like I said, if you mention, like for us, we mentioned Joe Rogan in our podcast, right?
In our name, exactly. in the name of the podcast,
right? We're tagging ourselves to a giant vessel in hopes that maybe we get some of the scraps,
or something, right? Get some of the scraps.
There's a crumb, Joe. There's a Joe Rogan crumb.
Yeah, well, he's in the media all the time now.
Fuck yeah.
But all right, we could probably transition into our. Well, actually, let's keep talking about Joe Rogan, but because I got a second story here. This is kind of terrifying because now Neil Young, he's a private guy. He can say whatever. He could be a crackpot who really cares until he actually physically starts hurting people, right? This is Biden's Surgeon General suggested that Joe Rogan should be censored. Let's just go through this article here. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. I want to pause this ad if I can. Vivek Murthy said Tuesday on MSNBC that not only the government but big tech companies have a role to play when it comes to censoring so-called misinformation and curating accurate information to the public. Now, I don't have the clip pulled up, but I know Press Secretary Jen Psaki has said that the administration is in communication with like Facebook.
I heard she's going to circle back on that though.
She circled back and she clarified that the White House is in fact in communication with Facebook and other tech companies.
You know what I just did there, by the way? I circled back the circle back.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knew when that was going to come back, and I circled that bitch back. That's from a long time ago. So that's a circle back of a circle back.
Uh-huh.
You're welcome. Go ahead. Carry on.
Jen Psaki said that the White House is in communication with Facebook and other tech and like Twitter.
Of course they are.
To, flag certain things as misinformation or whatever they're doing.
Twitter and Facebook have always been in league with
but now
the left.
Well,
or with the Dems, I should say, not
the
left.
Yeah, and the government in ways, one of the arguments is, make your own Twitter, but Twitter is very heavily subsidized.
You know what? Everybody kind of knew that they were a little bit, and it was fine. But the minute Trump got in, and they started to censor his shit, and then they fucking kicked him right off, everybody knew where their flag laid. Yeah. Right? They were like, okay, they're with the Dems.
But this is straight up the government. Well, not this particular article is not necessarily getting into this, but Jen Psaki has basically admitted the government is colluding with corporations to spread propaganda, to censor, people and sort of.
It's not how they say it, obviously.
Pick and choose which information gets into your ears, whether or not you want it.
I love it. It's like we're fucking stupid. Like, you have to do that for us. Oh, listen, thank you, government, for telling me what I can and can't watch, and what I can and can't hear, what goes into my sensitive ears, what my stupid brain doesn't know how to perceive as maybe not correct information. Thank you. Bunch of dumbasses.
And a lot of people they have that almost that mindset. They won't verbalize it that way, but they will act exactly in that way. It's so weird to see.
It's like we've said this before. It's the NPCs, right? It's like just a lot of people don't want to fight, and they're just like, oh, we'll just go along with it. And you spoon feed them shit, and it doesn't taste like shit right away. It tastes a little shitty, and they go, I can eat this.
Yeah. But
they don't know they're eating full on shit.
Yeah, it's
kind of like when you're feeding a baby and you're trying to get the baby to eat peas or something, and it doesn't want to eat the peas, but you put a little bit of fucking strawberries on there or something, and it tastes the strawberry first.
That it tastes good, and they go
that
for
too.
It. Yeah,
but it's more like when you put the little bit of strawberry on there and you go put it in their mouth, they taste the strawberry right away, and they go, "What the fuck was the rest of that?"
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing with this.
But so I guess he was asked. What do you think are the best ways to push back on misinformation about COVID that continues to be aggressively pushed, whether it be Joe Rogan's podcast or all over Facebook? The host asked Murthy, according to the police. We can have the best science available. We can have the best public health expertise available. It won't help people. If they don't have access to accurate information, the Biden-appointed Surgeon General answered, adding, people have the right to make their own decisions, but they also have the right to have accurate information to make that decision with. Big tech companies, Murthy said, have an important role to play since they are the predominant places where we're seeing misinformation spread. It's not just about what the government can do, he emphasized. This is about companies and individuals recognizing that the only way to get past misinformation is if we are careful about what we say and use the power that we have to limit the spread of misinformation.
Back in the day, if you read something on the back of, say, a Hustler fucking magazine, right? It was just on the back of a Hustler, some kind of bullshit thing, or an Inquirer or something, right? You read something in the Inquirer magazine, a lot of people would know what that is, maybe more so than Hustler. But you read something there, you'd go, okay, I'm just going to take this with a grain of salt. Like, this is most likely bullshit, right? And then you read something conversely on, say, a government website. You'd go, well, I'm going to take that as truth because that came off the government website, right? Back in the day. Because... one, they had control over the information a lot better. But number two, we all had this idea as people that, there's credible sources and there's not credible sources, but we want the not credible sources around too. Like, we're not going to stop the Inquirer from putting bullshit out or Hustler from putting bullshit on the back of the magazine. We're just smart enough to go, that's just stupid, and that's in that magazine, so it's probably junk. The problem is now these assholes have been trying to catch up with social media and shit because really people got the jump on them. It's the same with, like, we were talking about Bitcoin and shit. Mm-hmm. People got the society got the jump on the government with social media. So they were able to get
They
their
couldn't get the noose
information out
around
there
it fast enough.
Right. And so now it's
like
like
the
they're hyper trying to control it. And they want to get rid of all these people that have had enough time on the internet and have built enough audiences like a Joe Rogan, because they've been putting out good information, whether you agree with it or not, but they've just been putting out information that's legit information from both sides and all sides.
Expert opinions.
Right, expert opinions.
People
things
who
like that.
know what they're talking about.
Right. So now
And I
they're
think
just trying to crush all this shit.
This
And it's so evident to everybody. We know they're doing it. And like, I don't know how they think they're going to get away with it. They think it's just going to go down without a fight. Like, you know what happened with Biden's vaccine mandate.
Yeah, it got shot down.
Yeah, it got shot down.
Unconstitutional.
Yeah, and the Daily Wire was one of the big proponents against it. And they were one of the big people in the fight too, right? Ben Shapiro.
Because they weren't going to do it.
What's that?
Because they weren't
going to do it, right? But I don't know how they think this shit is just going to wash through. Like, we're all just going to go, oh, yeah, no problem. Because it's not going to happen. What I hope, though, is that they don't start to change small laws or implement small bills or these different things that pave the way to change the big stuff. You know, and that's what's kind of happening. You don't, like, Bill 162 or something. Nobody knows what the fuck is in the bill. And then there's this little part in the bill that's this thing. And
usually it's a massive bill. It'll be hundreds of pages.
Hundreds,
no one reads
thousands.
And they just,
sometimes
thousands. And they just put little things in there that just...
Right. And then they agree on the whole bill and they get this bullshit.
And then you have now, this is such a big deal because now we have kind of relevant government figures advocating for censorship. They're advocating, to cut out the tongue of a private citizen who exists in a meritocratic environment. Like, it's so weird. Like, if we go back down to, you give people a platform to counter what he's spewing or the guests that he's having on. You have to do something to mitigate that. It's like, this guy, I don't know, he's almost admitting that his ideas lose in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah.
Right? So he's saying you have to really push down the alternatives because
nobody's going to listen to
no one's going to listen to us because we don't have good points.
Right.
They have better points than us, so we got to press down on these guys.
Do you think they're killing themselves? Like, do you think they're fighting too big of a giant at this point? Do you think they're taking on a whale?
Joe Rogan?
Like, no, I mean, like, the government's taking on a whale.
No, but like Joe Rogan's the whale.
That's what I mean. He's the whale. Like, if they'd done this with smaller entities, let's say, and then built the sort of track up, then they might have been able to take on the whale. But at this point, they're trying to chew on a whale.
Yeah.
And I think he's got too much support. And even people that don't necessarily support him, I think would support his right. Yeah. So that you'd have a ton of people to be like, fuck you. Of course he can.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's becoming the face of like a unwillingly...
freedom fighter face, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want that moniker.
But he's doing a good job by having the conversation. I think he personally understands how important it is to have the conversations. You have all these people on who have different opinions. He had the CNN guy on, and the CNN guy made a fool of himself. So it's like...
And Joe's even really nice about it when he talks about him too. He always he says he's a great guy.
He won't let people talk shit about Gupta. It's actually kind of weird because I think what he did by going on, was it Don Lemon's show and saying, basically after being on Joe Rogan, going on Don Lemon's show, so it is horse medicine. Yeah, it is. It is dangerous or whatever. It's like,
yeah, that's such
a stab in the back. It's so insane.
That's the thing about Rogan, right? He's a fair guy. Like if I were to describe him in one word and I had to pick a word, it'd be fair. I'd say he's just a fair guy. He's not gonna let you get away with bullshit, but he's also not gonna let someone else get away with bullshit about you either. Like, he just paints it with the brush that's appropriate. If he's talking to someone like Gupta, Gupta's a brilliant surgeon apparently, or something. I don't know. He's
some kind of doctor.
He's a medical doctor of some sort. I think he's a surgeon or something. But apparently he's very, very good. He just happens to be linked in with CNN. Unfortunately, that's gonna tarnish his name a bit in that regard.
Especially now,
right?
But siding with CNN constantly. If he came out and it was like, like what he did on Rogan. Oh, they shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't say that. Like that all goes out the window when you go back on and you agree with them for saying that thing. But if you push back a little bit, that gives you a little bit of credibility.
I can't blame him really. We talked about this in another podcast before. I say when you start to mess with someone's money bone, you know what I mean? Like I can't blame him. He's basically trying to placate to both sides. You know he's having a fight though. You know there's a moral fight going on inside because when he's on Joe Rogan talking to Joe Rogan,
there's a
you feel fight? Like he wants to. You feel like he wants to say, "Yeah, you're right. You're fucking right." CNN is,
but he's got someone in his ear saying, "Hey,
we pay you.
Look at how many zeros are on this check.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, we pay you.
You like
Shut
that,
the
don't
fuck
you?
Up. Yeah,
you got a nice house.
Yeah.
I've seen the car you drive to work. You like that, don't you? Your kid goes to Harvard. Mm-hmm. You like that life, right?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Yeah, I do. I like that life. That's a nice life." So he takes that check and he's like, "All right, play nice."
And you can't hate on him because he's got a family. He's got people to think about. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe this isn't. Yeah. I don't know him to say that he's a selfish fuck. It depends. Or any of that shit. I'm just looking at it from a very outward perspective. And
I think at a certain point you can call him a. It depends how much money.
I don't want to take that stance
and how much he has.
I don't want to take that stance because I don't know him and I don't know what his motivations are or anything like that. Yeah. All I can do is just look at like the information that's presented. I think he's aligned with the wrong organization. But I mean, maybe some of his thoughts line up with them too, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think it's a stupid thing to say that he's not intelligent. He's a very intelligent guy. So like for me to say that just because I disagree with his stance on something.
Oh yeah, no, that's.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I wanted him when I saw he was on Rogan. I was like so excited because I thought, oh cool, man. Like I wanted him to be better. Like I wanted it to be like a move, but it wasn't. I think it was more like CNN sending a mule in to collect information or something, or I don't know. I don't know what their deal was with it. Like what they thought they were going to get out of it.
Yeah, maybe attention. Maybe a reason, like what they did, a reason to grandstand about how they tried to do the right thing and convince Joe Rogan that he had to, get vaccinated, even though,
Maybe they're just grasping at straws at this point because they know the ship's fucking sinking.
They absolutely are. They have no idea what's going on. They've
like
lost.
They're hitching. They're doing what we do.
Yeah,
they're hitching their fucking
they've
ship.
completely lost. Like they compared to Joe Rogan, they're nothing. Mm-hmm. They get, they don't get nearly the amount of views that Joe Rogan gets. Joe Rogan is the mainstream, and they're trying to desperately hold on to it. And as they're losing it, or as they're realizing that they've lost it, now it's like the government's coming out and saying, "Yeah, we need to censor Joe Rogan." It's like, why is that? Well, it's getting into conspiracy, deep state stuff, and power, and all that jazz. But that's deep. That's a 2.5 hour conversation in and of itself.
Yeah, it's funny though. We could segue into this because I wanted to talk about this. You might want to put a little marker of the time period because we want to put a little video about this, about the truck convoy, that the beautiful truck convoy that started.
Yeah, here in Canada.
In Canada, we started it. Well, I mean, Canadians started. I shouldn't say we. I had nothing to do with it, unfortunately. But and then the U.S. There's apparently a bunch of U.S.
They're
truckers.
calling it the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah. They're going to be there tomorrow, apparently. They're going to be in Ottawa tomorrow, the 29th. And their idea is they're going to surround the capital, essentially. So Parliament, I don't know if they're talking about surrounding the whole of Ottawa. Like there's 50,000 trucks, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know at the very least, like Parliament, they're going to Parliament. They're going to like surround essentially, and that's where they're going to start the protest. But look what Mr. Trudeau all of a sudden.
Did he leave the country?
Yeah. Did you know what happened?
No.
Oh, he said suddenly he came in contact with someone with COVID, and he's in a 5-day quarantine.
That's hilarious.
They told him to disappear, man. And he went, "Oh yes, please."
Yeah.
So just in time for this.
Yeah. So this coward. They're opposed to the vaccine mandates. Because the vaccine, they're trying to force truckers. Canada wants to force truckers coming into Canada to be vaccinated, and that's horrible Because one, now we know that the vaccine mandates in the states got shut down, but two, we get so much of our stuff from the states. You know, like
they're also saying too, like truckers, like they're basically hermits, man. They're fucking hermit crabs. They're in a cab all day.
Yeah, they got their shell.
Yeah, you're wearing a mask and you're vaccinated. What are you worried about a trucker coming and doing whatever? He goes to a loading dock. He's received by one person essentially, and then goes fuck back in his truck. Like why?
Yeah, but this is a resources thing too. This is your.
It's nonsensical though.
You know, in times of supply chain shortages, you know, out of control inflation. There's fewer stuff on the shelves in the grocery stores.
These are our champions.
Yeah, like we need these people more than like
they're always our champions, right? And they're the unsung heroes.
They make society go round. You know, the truckers, the farmers, the mechanics,
all the fucking heroes, all the heroes in early 2020 and mid 2020 are now the pariahs.
Yeah,
it's now all suddenly their heroic work is no longer heroic.
Let's read this article to get some of the details now. A convoy of Canadian truckers and their supporters began arriving in Ottawa on Friday to protest a federal government vaccine requirement for cross-border truckers and other coronavirus public health measures. As police warned of social media actors inciting violence and lone wolf individuals seeking to disrupt it, that wouldn't surprise me, given how insane people are for the vaccines. Mm-hmm. I hope to God nothing happens, and this is a peaceful protest, and no one interferes with it. You can have counter protesters, sure, do it peacefully. I think it'll be. Don't resort to terrorism.
I think it'll be mostly peaceful.
That doesn't have good implications.
No, I think it'll be. It's a Canadian protest.
I don't want Ottawa to burn to the ground.
Yeah, it's a Canadian protest. Like, what do we do? We don't do shit.
They're probably apologizing already. Did you see Vancouver when the Canucks fucking lost the Stanley Cup?
Overturning cars and shit.
We riot for hockey, all right?
Yeah, that's true.
Listen, if the Leafs don't win tomorrow night, who the hell knows what's going to happen down in Ottawa?
That's true.
Up in Ottawa, I guess, from here. Both Canada and the United States announced last year that they would require truck drivers entering their respective countries to be fully vaccinated. Canada implemented its measures on January 15th, while the U.S. requirements started on January 22nd. Most cross-border trade between the two countries occurs over land. That would make sense considering it's
isn't the new variant on the drop too?
I don't know.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
Pay attention to that anymore.
I thought it was. I thought I read something where it was saying it was majorly dropping.
It's supposed to be. That's why they're talking about.
Well, they predicted a pretty.
Well, they're walking away. They're walking away from all the.
What I'm saying though is anybody in the know sort of predicted a dark January and potentially early February, but then it's gonna die off, just like the cold and flu season, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, so this is the time that they're picking.
Convoy's size is unclear, and most of it is expected to arrive Saturday.
Yeah.
Polls show vaccine mandates enjoy broad support here. Some 90% of Canadian truckers are vaccinated. According to the transport minister, the Canadian Trucking Alliance said it doesn't support protests on public roadways, highways, and bridges. That's something you kind of have to say.
No, but this is the funny thing, though, too. A lot of these truckers that are in this protest thing are vaccinated.
Yeah.
They're protesting.
This
is what they like to say.
They're not protesting the vaccine.
Of course they're not.
They're protesting authoritarianism.
And choice.
Yeah.
Freedom of autonomy, body autonomy on yourself, like whatever you want.
I mean, ultimately, they're standing up. These are the real anti-fascists in our society. Mm-hmm. Are these truckers?
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, I guess if someone listening to this doesn't know that.
I think that was here actually. I think that picture's from here.
That does look
from Centennial.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm pretty sure it's from Centennial.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
It's probably labeled actually. Yeah. People rally. Oh, that's in Vaughan.
Oh, that's Vaughan.
I mean, to be fair,
they did the same thing did the same thing over on Centennial.
But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismissed the convoy as a fringe minority. It's breaking records.
Yeah. It's not breaking. It's broken.
It has broken records.
It has the Guinness World Book of World Records for longest trucker convoy or something like that.
This is just a weird line. It has drawn support from several federal Conservative Party lawmakers, Donald Trump Jr., and Tesla founder Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's been tweeting
A known
about
opponent of vaccine mandates, some Canadians have gathered on highways, on highway overpasses to cheer the convoy on. Now, this is respectable to the Washington Post because I know they're very, insane
left-leaning
lefty types over there, but at least they say opponent of vaccine mandates and not opponents of the vaccine.
That's
because at least they're being honest here.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't shock me if they just said that they were against the vaccine, period. As it has approached Ottawa, officials have warned of disruptions. Analysts have raised concerns that what might have ostensibly started out as a protest against vaccine mandates has garnered support from people with a host of other grievances. Conspiracy theorists, far-right agitators, and anti-government types. I love how those are just all lumped together. Like all of those words are nonsense, except maybe the anti-government types. Maybe that's specific enough to get a group of people. Far-right, what's a far-right agitator? They would call Joe Rogan a far-right agitator.
Mm-hmm.
Conspiracy. What's a conspiracy theorist? Oh, well, do you think the government's not necessarily looking out for your best interests? Then you're a conspiracy theorist. And could devolve. The head of security for the House of Commons advised lawmakers that some members of the convoy were seeking their addresses. I hope that's not true. Ottawa police say they're preparing for risks, including counter-demonstrations, blocking of intersections, interfering with critical infrastructure, and unlawful and violent activity. Now, that could happen.
Well, of course it could. You get enough people. I hate when they say stuff like that. Duh, thanks. You get 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 people anywhere. Yeah, shit can happen.
Yeah.
Like, of course. It's stupid. They're trying to delegitimize what they're doing by saying it could be violent and then getting people up against it. But they're not going to win in this case because I know a lot of people that are for this are happy about it. The only thing they're unhappy about is what you said earlier about maybe disruption of people's lives. Right, like you're driving home from work yesterday.
It takes you an hour to get home from work. Your 20-minute drive takes you an hour, 2 hours.
An hour would have been more like 5 hours probably.
Some people probably.
Yeah, but again, I think a lot of people would understand and be like, okay, this one time, this is something that we kind of need to stand together about.
Yeah. The organizers have advised us that this will be a peaceful demonstration. Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slawley said at a news conference Friday, but he added that police are aware of social media actors in Canada and abroad inciting violence and criminality. And that happens always in all things that go on. Yep. We do not know all of the parallel demonstrations that may occur and or the lone wolf individuals who may insert themselves into the mix for various reasons, he said. He added that so far the demonstrations have been peaceful. There you go. According to the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, that's a very communistic thing to exist, several of the convoy's organizers and amplifiers are not truckers, but members of far-right groups. So they mean the Liberals here.
Yeah, sure.
Not the Liberal Party, the actual Liberals.
Liberal people,
some participants have called for a January 6th type moment online, according to local media. Oh, great. Okay. People, so they're going to be let into the House of Parliament and walk around and take dumb social media pictures, and that'll be the end of it. Is that what they're advocating for?
Yeah, the FBI are gonna get their agitators there. And
is the FBI gonna be there? I really hope not, because that would be. I feel like that'd be an act of war, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's an act of what's that? What's that called when another country is meddling with another country's political?
An act of aggression.
No, I think there's a term for it.
Interference.
No, I think there's something. I'm pretty sure there's a word for it.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure I've heard. I thought I heard it when they were talking about Russia with the U.S.
A GoFundMe campaign organized by Tamara Litch, a former regional coordinator for Wexit, a movement pushing for Alberta to separate from Canada. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Yeah, had raised $7.2 million as of Friday afternoon. The page says the mandates are destroying the foundations of our businesses, industries, and livelihoods.
Okay, I gotta rephrase. I did know that there was talk about Alberta becoming its own sort of thing. Right. I don't know, just like Quebec when they were talking about separating from Canada, but I didn't know there was a thing called Wexit that actually somehow formed into a thing. I knew that there was talk for a while because realistically, if you look at when the height of oil and gas and all that kind of stuff, when it's really what's the word I'm looking for? When it's really being produced a lot in Alberta, like fuck, man, that's a really, really, really rich province.
Rich area.
Yeah, so it's like
it's a lot of oil.
Yeah, there's talk about. There's always been talk about the fact that Ontario has like whatever 38% or something of the population of Canada total in Ontario. And
it's not just in Ontario; it's all like in southern Ontario.
Right.
Like it's all like along
from like basically Barrie down.
Where we are. Yeah,
Barrie
it's
down.
Basically the vast majority is out here.
But anyways, what I'm saying is,
I kind of want to go to the top, just live there.
I know, right?
It's like most of Ontario is like a national park, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like just go to the middle of that.
Look how big fucking Algonquin Park is.
No one will know I'm there.
You know how big Algonquin Park is, man?
Huge.
Massive. It's fucking massive. Well, it takes from here to the border of Manitoba to drive 21 hours.
Jesus.
That's about the same as from here to Florida.
That's huge.
Isn't that fucking crazy? That's how long it takes you to get there. That's how big this fucking province is. This province is basically like, I think Ontario would be the size of maybe, I don't know, if you look on a map, you'd have to look at probably a quarter of the states or something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy how fucking big it is. But anyways. Yeah. So I love it. I was so, I don't know, I felt a lot of pride when I saw that they were doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not really an activist type, nor I don't think you are. I'm not really the type to like go get in my car and be like, hey, I'm gonna like me and a bunch of guys. But I would support it with money. I would support it with money. I would support it with like if I had a bigger platform.
If it came to that, you had to say something.
Yep, absolutely. I'm an open supporter of it. I think it's fantastic. I love what they're doing.
Yeah, some of these things, like for me, if they came, obviously this is a extreme scenario, but if they came to me at my job and they're like, you have to denounce this thing or you're fired, I would walk.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I'd just walk. I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I think I would
no,
too.
I can't.
I think I'd just look at him and say, all right, cool. Listen.
Awesome. I'm going to go home now.
Yeah, you're going to need to fire me without cause and give me proper thing, because I'm basically going to sue you, just so you know, for wrongful dismissal, because you can't tell me what I.
Yeah, it was just it is a little bit strange. I mean, I think it speaks to sort of the what would you call it, the logos of Canadians, or the ethos of Canadians.
The ethos of Canadians. I know what I mean. Yeah.
Where it's Canada's not a free country. It just isn't. Like, it doesn't come up a lot. Yeah. But there are so many like laws in play. Like, there was a comedian that got fined like $30,000 for making a joke. You get we have a what is it, the Civil Rights Commission or something that's like just really, really communistic in nature.
We don't have the same First Amendment as the States.
No, we don't have the rights that the United States have at all. No. Like on paper. I mean, the Canadian.
Like, you can be sued. The Canadian Charter, be sued for saying certain things.
Yeah, but the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms does outline a lot of the same stuff as the Constitution. It just isn't.
It's not as.
It doesn't. It's not as rigid as a thing, but it doesn't come up a lot. There really aren't. Even though maybe there are a lot of instances where people could get arrested, sued, fined, put in jail. They don't, unless the government really doesn't like you for it. It just doesn't happen.
It happened in Rebel News.
And so this is kind of
Rebel News got sued a few times.
Yeah, which is but
that was the truth.
You have stuff like this coming up where it's like, Canadians are. I think they're mostly just living their lives, and they're not really paying attention to the fact that the government is eroding their rights. And then when it kind of comes up in a serious way like this, that gets them out of their house.
This is what I was saying. Actually, I agree with you completely. I think I think this sums up Canada. We're very polite. Mm-hmm. We're very amicable. We don't like to. We're not like protesting types. But if you fucking back us into a corner, watch out. And people unite very, very, very well in this country. If you have a protest or a movement or something that's just, people will get on board that like crazy, and they'll get on it fervently. Like they will put their money behind it. They will all kinds of things. Like you saw that with even
people will put their lives.
They will,
at risk.
Like you saw that with that guy, that Adam dude, that barbecue. What was his name? Adam. Did you hear about this? This was early. This was like last year at some point.
I did not.
Some barbecue place in like Toronto somewhere. Anyways, he was trying to fight the closures, and he opened against the mandates or whatever and such. And anyway, so they Adamson Barbecue. That's what it was. Adamson something, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, so he but then they started a GoFundMe for him. And I think it generated in the first like couple of days like $300,000 or something like that. It paid for it paid for all his legal fees essentially. Like his legal fees.
That's good to see.
Yeah, I even donated to it, and it wasn't. I don't think anything of the guy, or I don't care. Like I don't know him or any of that, but I just support someone's. He made one basic argument: his right to feed his family, his right to earn money, and like I said this early in the pandemic. I'm like, look.
We just turned on Alexa.
It's so weird though. It's across the room, and that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, no, Alexa's always listening to you. Yeah, why do you even have one
why
of
the
those?
hell would that even turn on?
Because it's listening. It wants to know what we're talking about. We're talking about
It's got hey on the screen. Hey.
Hey, how are you? Hey, Alexa.
Hey.
We should bury that thing. Get it out of here.
Yeah, I don't know what we said that thing turned it on.
Started talking about this, and
like,
government
whoa,
started listening
hey,
in.
yeah.
Make sure we're not planning something.
It's fucking creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, so I just agreed with that one premise, and I was like, hey, you know what? I think we should help this guy, right? Mm-hmm. First guy getting burned, right? So, anyways, but that's why I like Canadians that way. Like, as much as I hate them for not being a little bit more, have a little more fight when maybe we should. When it really comes down to it, they do.
Yeah.
Truck you, Trudeau.
It's kind of funny.
Somebody had what was it? Truck Trudeau or something like that.
Truck Trudeau.
Something like that. I forget what it was. People have been playing with the words. Yeah, I just I'm curious to see what it does. I hope it does something. Hope it's not just inconveniencing a bunch of people for a couple days on the highways. And they don't back off. Like they actually
get some push.
They actually get a little pushback.
Do something.
I'm just not a big believer in the power protests anymore. Like they have a lot of power in Europe, because it's like,
do they?
Oh yeah, they still do.
Are you sure?
Oh, well, why?
Look at what France is doing.
Yeah, but they'll still do it. Like people are still
I know
protesting like crazy,
and nothing's happening.
Well, not yet.
Insane for the last 2 years. There's been an insane.
I know, but not yet.
Protest.
But they have a culture over there.
Yes, once they behead the aristocracy, then we might they might get somewhere.
They've had a culture over there, a protest culture for a long time, right? Where we don't really say shit with a mouthful over here. We just kind of shut up.
I think a lot of that too, though, is they France has been France for what, a couple thousand years. Like I don't know how far does it go back before it was like a part of the
French
Romans
Empire
or something.
French Empire had their own time. Mm-hmm. So the Spanish, so did the English.
They all
had their own time.
And there's shifting borders and everything.
Well, that's why you get like Saint Martin's French.
I guess that isn't even all that important. Over there, you have these established infrastructure that's been around for thousands of years.
Sure, yeah.
Over here,
we're
in
our infancy,
right? So I think for a lot of the history of Canada and the United States, there just was, if you didn't like something, you could just go somewhere else because there's all this land to expand into. Now we're at a point where we got everything covered for the most part. Like there are places we can go as a society sort of build up in areas, but it's not like what it was. And I think that that culture of building something up, especially given that in the early days, it would have been really, really hard.
Do you mean the population in Canada? You're saying
not just the population, the infrastructure that exists.
I was going to say, because Canada is so underpopulated. It's
crazy.
Right.
Because at first, but I'm talking about like at first you have a few hundred people in certain pockets on the coast, and then more come and they build up infrastructure, and then it's really just like the East Coast is where everyone, and then they move outward and they sort of build colonies as they go. And there's this sort of this culture of hardship that gets built up over a couple hundred years as what is now the United States and Canada gets built up. And then
the weird thing that happened in Canada though was like, other than the West Coast line, really the East Coast line is kind of sparsely populated. Like you look at like PEI or Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, or not New Brunswick, Newfoundland. they're not really all that populated, right?
Yeah.
The West is a little different. I mean, there's pockets of the West that are very populated, but you look down in the States and it's like that's where all the population are, all on the coasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I know what you're saying. I think part of it too with that is it's the time period, but it's like the amount of time that each of us been a country, like the U.S. and Canada have been countries. But it's also the fact that
it's not even just about them being countries, because that's kind of what I was alluding to, like, because all in Europe the borders have been fucking shifting and different, all for thousands of years, right? But you have the same places is where people were. The infrastructure exists, and they were just building on top of older stuff. Or here it was nothing.
Yeah.
Right. It was just you had the natives here, but they didn't have they were pretty nomadic. They were moving around a lot, so there wasn't like a lot of structure, and so it was basically just empty land.
Yeah.
And we come to just a big, huge area of empty land and build it up.
We're just basically like we're almost like an overflow for the UK. That's basically what Canada was or is,
or the British Empire.
That's
maybe
the
more
British
specifically,
Empire,
because they're not necessarily
I'm saying the UK now,
but
yeah.
back feeble and weak.
Back in the day, yeah. But that's why I was surprised.
Well, in a very real way, it was overflow too, because people came here because they were fleeing the sort of tyranny.
Yeah,
that was going on in the British Empire.
No, but there was also, I mean, with the U.S. When the U.S. were in their Civil War, essentially too, there was a lot of loyalists that came up to Canada too, right? So kind of that's where I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised that we have such a good border with the States, considering when you look back at the history of Canada and the U.S. and like the War of 1812 and shit.
I think it's
prior to the Civil War and stuff.
I think culturally we're the same. Like, we're all from the same place, and so I think we can fight, but then we can get. It's like the Scots and the Irish.
And I mean, it's the largest unmanned border in the world, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to. You got to fucking play nice in the
sandbox.
Well, you
got two rich nations,
and then you play nice in the sandbox, right?
Yeah.
And realistically, let's be honest, we're just basically a state of the United States, like
practically.
Like
I would support a merger.
I'd be fine with it. I don't care either way.
I don't think it would. I don't know.
I don't have like this
mostly because I want to have the rights of an American citizen.
I don't have this pride of like Canada as a nation. I'm like, hey,
it's the same culture. It's the same culture. Like the difference between the culture here where we are and the culture in say Buffalo, which is
it's the same,
an hour drive from here. It's the same.
It's the exact same. Right? Go to Michigan. It's the same.
And so the variation between here and BC is the same as like the variation between in New York State and Vermont or something, or Texas, right? Like there's
people that are very close.
There's variation, but it's small and it's subtle and it's not huge overlapping. It's not like the difference between here and Italy.
Go to North Dakota or something and see how fucking nice the people are there.
Yeah,
it's just like Canada. Like anybody who says
a lot of those places are colder than
Montana,
than here,
they're just as nice, man. You go through these states, you wouldn't even know if you didn't know you were in the States. Like, well, because every 10 seconds you see a flag. There's a lot of patriots that way, like patriotic people. But at the same time, you wouldn't know, other than that little strange, maybe a little strange accent they have. But other than that, you'd think you're fucking in some part of Canada. They're just as nice. So it's funny when they always say that Canadians are so nice. Yeah. They just say the northern states and Canada.
Yeah, basically that's basically it. Yeah. But I think that's probably a good point for a hard segue.
Hard segue?
We'll do a hard segue because I have to pee, so I could set us up so that we don't really get any dead time here. So this is a video. So how do I introduce this? Me, Kevin, is a financial YouTuber. He talks about the stock market. He does a live stream every morning. When the market opens, he does a live stream every afternoon when the market closes. He was doing he kind of got he got really big at the beginning of COVID when he was doing a lot of stimulus check videos, updates and stuff like that. He kind of started out as a real estate guy. He's an investor guy. He's a guy who made it as an investor, particularly in real estate, and then started making YouTube videos, and then he made it as a YouTuber. Basically grew his account to well over $20 million in the stock market, and so who knows what he's worth when you factor in his real estate. So he kind of went from doing all right with himself to being stupid rich over the last 2 years, which Jeremy here comments on. But he recently, because if anybody who's watching this has been paying attention to the stock market, it has been a disaster.
Yeah.
It has been tanking.
Yep.
And there's so much uncertainty right now. And so last Friday, Meet Kevin sold all of his stocks. Now, this isn't, I don't necessarily want to comment so much on his actions, his financial choice, but like, oh, he's wrong for doing this, or this is absolutely the right decision to make. No. That's not what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at is this weird, what I think is almost a troubling sign, is when you see this response by Jeremy here, who is a friend of Kevin's. They actually do a podcast together called Millennial Money. You'll have Jeremy, Meet Kevin. I'm pointing at the screen, no one can see. Jeremy is the face on the right of that video there. Meet Kevin is the face on the left. They do a video with Andre Singe and Graham Stephan, who are all big YouTubers, financial YouTubers, talk about stocks, investing, real estate, stuff like that. So these people are friends with each other. But yeah, I can stop beating around the bush, and I'm going to play this video. We're going to watch maybe 2-3 minutes of it, and then he'll have said everything that I need him to say, and then I have some comments, and you might have some comments, but your comments might be more riffing off of my comments. But I have to pee, so
Carry on, sir.
Well, folks, I think we've all seen it. If you follow me, Kevin, 238,000 people have seen it so far. He sold out of everything, sold out of all his stocks, sold out of cryptos, and has even went short the market now, he says. And I have gotten literally hundreds of comments in the past 24 to 48 hours on my opinion on Kevin's move here. I can't even explain how many comments I have about this. And the reason being is Kevin is one of the 4 amigos on Millennial Money, right? And so being that he's one of the 4 people on Millennial Money, and a lot of folks watch Kevin's channel, also watch my channel, everybody is looking at this and like, Jeremy, what are you going to say about this? Or do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? Are you going to sell out of your stocks? Are you planning on making a move like this? And so, yeah, nonetheless, we got a lot to talk about in this video here today, guys, because this is an action-packed one. This is a crazy one, okay? So, first off, Kevin is getting massive hate, and I'm not just talking about from random people. I'm talking about from his audience. I don't know if I've ever seen it in the finance space where, we've gotten something like this, and people are pissed. Okay, I would describe it as that. As a YouTuber, right? As a YouTuber, you're always going to get a certain amount of hate or negative comments, or people that watch your channel who don't like you and those sorts of things, and say mean stuff, and that's going to happen, right? But the thing is, that's usually a very, very small amount. If you go through Kevin's comment section on that video, it is a disaster. It is like almost every single comment is like negative. People are, very despising of Kevin right now. And I think if Kevin was realistic, with himself, which I think he is, I think he understands he deserves the hate right now, right? Because, Kevin's built his brand off of, if people sell stocks, he says they're weenie babies, right? And that's like his thing. And then he says, he made a video last week about Bill Ackman shorting the market and how Bill Ackman's so evil and all these sorts of things, right? Which got a crazy amount of views. And so Kevin's gone out there and he's attacked and made, called people names that sell stocks, and then, made people that short stocks look really bad. And then Kevin goes from, being very bullish buying the dip to all of a sudden in a matter of 24, 48 hours to selling everything and then shorting the market. That's a whole different situation. So nonetheless, people feel like they got backstabbed in this situation, right? Where it's like, really, you're just going to make a move like this. And so, I wish Kevin would have spoke to me about this, before he had done it, because I would have told him, dude, you got to realize how bad this makes you.
I think yeah, that's a good point. I think that is about all we need to hear of that video. So there are some interesting things that he mentions there, and I think that this is somewhat concerning. try to gather my
With
thoughts
the fact
here
that
and
he shorted
figure
the
out.
market.
Yeah, it's not about his positions,
Okay.
right? I'm not talking about his investment choices, or whether or not he made the right decision or he should have done that. I'm talking about how the stock market is a ever-changing environment. Mm-hmm. So is the economy, especially now more than ever.
Yeah, it's hyper. Yeah.
And so if you are trading, if you're involved, it's one thing if you're just a casual investor and you're trying to save for retirement, you're buying some stocks every month or whatever, right? Some companies that's one thing.
Buy and hold.
It's another thing when you're doing like what Meat Kevin does. He does a lot of trading. He does a lot of he does a lot of options trading and stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense to have your opinion change drastically in a very short period of time if you are paying attention to things and if you are open to change, right? Like you do not want to marry yourself to any particular paradigms, because that's, I think, pretty dangerous.
I think if anybody does, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, and so it's weird to me.
It's a rigid person.
It's weird to me that Jeremy would come out and say that Kevin deserves the hate and that he shouldn't have done this or whatever. And he comments. So this is kind of where I want to get into why this is concerning to me. He mentions how Kevin, he calls people that sell stocks, weenie babies and all that jazz, and that's true. He started doing that about, I don't know if you remember, around March, April last year. The market kind of tanked a little bit.
That's when I bought.
Yeah, that's what Kevin was doing at that time. He was buying the dip. That was a big meme that he was spreading. Buy the dip. Whenever the market was down, he was buying more, and people who were selling, he was calling them weenie babies. And he was kind of calling out people who were shorting the market and all that jazz. And Kevin made a lot of money. He made the right choices, right? That doesn't mean that he has to continue to do that if conditions shift and now he's not so confident that the market's going to bounce like he was back then, right? He could have been wrong back then, but he was right.
Yeah.
And now he has a different perspective, and he's acted on that perspective. And this guy and other people are calling him out. So it's like there's this cultural, like he talks about how people, are feeling betrayed and everything. And it's like, you should not, your attitude towards the stock market and investing should not, one, be very heavily influenced by what one guy on the internet is doing. It all, like, I don't know, like, just because somebody has a different outlook to you, this is kind of getting into some of the stuff we were talking about before with different political opinions, right? These people are like married to this idea, and I guess that this idea is that the stock market is this infallible machine that is always going to go up.
You're going to love this. I'm going to agree and disagree with you.
Yeah. So, well, what do you?
Okay, so I agree with you. While I agree with you on the whole point of not being married to any idea with the market and being malleable and being able to change your positions and your ideas and all that, absolutely, that's very smart. Where I'll agree with him or maybe disagree with your point. Maybe I'm not even disagreeing with you because
you have a third opinion.
Maybe a third opinion. Yeah. They now have a following. And a lot of people are looking to him and he knows this, that they're looking to him for advice and such, right? So by doing this, basically he's given a big old fuck you and left everybody in the wind. You know what I mean? Because he's going contrary to what his whole position was prior. And now
right, but it isn't like he did it secretly.
No, I know, but I mean,
which I think if he did it secretly, that's one thing. Or if he sold 2 weeks ago, and was talking about buying the dip, all after that.
Was he kind of talking about it prior though? Was he like going through people and telling them this is good time to sell and this kind of stuff, or did he just kind of do it and then say it?
I don't watch him every day, so I don't know exactly what he's talking. He does 2 live streams a day. He talks a lot about the market conditions and the news in the market and sort of what he thinks is going on. And he gives a lot of, here are some bullish catalysts that we might see, here are some negative catalysts to look at. So he is constantly sort of assessing in his videos and his live streams. I got a burp again.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with these beers are like burpy burp.
They're just coming up. In his videos and his live streams, he is constantly assessing the conditions, whether
You
it's
said that funny.
assessing the conditions, whether it's about a particular stock, like, okay, today we're looking at Tesla, and here are the factors, sure. Tesla earnings recently, right? Here's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Or whether it's the entire market in general. It's like, okay, the Fed's speaking, are they going to raise interest rates or whatever? Right. What's gonna happen? He's constantly doing that, and so my perspective of Kevin, again, I haven't watched all of his content, has been that he has been gaining an increasingly bearish perspective on the market, and he's been I think he is a little bit naive to some. Again, this is me saying to him, who's had all the success in the stock market, but I think that he is underestimating a lot of the risks, at least publicly in his videos. That's always been my perspective, and I've kind of noticed more recently he seems to be coming around to a lot of things that I was concerned about a year ago. Supply chain stuff, issues not being resolved, inflation. I was very, maybe I jumped the ship on this, but I was very, inflation is not going to be transitory and it's going to be a problem a year ago. Mm-hmm. Kevin was posting videos, about how maybe it's not going to be, because that's what the Fed was saying. Oh, if inflation is transitory, we're going to, it's all going to be fine. Now the Fed's basically saying, no, not so much. And I think, Kevin, my perspective of him is that he has come around to that, and he has been pushing a more and more bearish perspective on the market recently. And again, like I'm saying, it isn't like he did this secretly. He was very publicly about, here's what I'm doing. Okay, then maybe.
If that's the case.
Yeah.
Then okay. But I don't know. Like I don't have enough information to make a full on assessment of him. Right. Directly, but what I'll say is, okay, so being in the financial space, when I was an advisor, had I said to my clients, sell, they would have just done it. Like lemmings. They would have just been like, okay, we're selling.
I do think that
but this is what I'm saying. But this is where it correlates to him.
I understand that you get that with a community like that.
Yeah.
You get people that are just doing what Kevin does.
And that's what I'm saying. So
but
he did that,
those people, but here's my thing. Those people, like, if someone goes to you as a financial advisor, that's a little different than someone watching a YouTube video and deciding, I'm going to do what this guy says or what this guy does, right? Because you're presenting yourself as a financial advisor. Me, Kevin, he's always about, I'm not giving financial advice, right? He's always very. But
is that what he's talking about all the time, though?
What's
the channel about?
The stock market and investing. Right, but it's not. He's not giving you advice. He's giving you news.
Let me make this point.
There's a difference.
Okay, let me make this point to kind of correlate it. Like someone like Joe Rogan, right? Let's use something like, let's talk about the COVID stuff or like he's in the hot water about the vaccine shit. Okay, Joe Rogan has never said that he's not that he's anti-vax or any of that kind of stuff. He just doesn't want it for himself. Right? And then he has different people from different perspectives about the vaccine, all this stuff. He does skew a little towards he's a little on the one side of the pro-choice and not vaccinating and stuff, which I don't shit on him for, because I'm on that side as well. But I could see somebody, if they were on heavily on the pro-vaccine side, they'd be like, his information's a little bit heavily weighted on the opposite, on the contrary view of that. So that's fine. But what the point of his, or I mean the support on his position on it is, he doesn't tell anyone what to do, what not to do. He's just giving a bunch of information, and he's very clear about the fact that he's just free for you to make your choice. Now, if you
that is what Meet Kevin
I know,
is.
but hold on. But his page is a financial page.
Yeah. He's giving you information.
But what I'm saying
about
though is
the financial,
I know,
the same way Joe Rogan is giving you. It's not.
But Joe Rogan doesn't have one specific information.
But when he does a podcast, that particular podcast is about that. Particular with Robert Malone.
Yeah,
but
yes and no.
It's the same thing.
I know. Listen.
No, it is the same thing. Meet Kevin and Joe Rogan is, because Joe Rogan is not a doctor claiming to be a medical expert.
I don't know anything about this. This is the first I've even heard of this.
No. But I'm trying to, if Joe Rogan was a doctor, your doctor, or whatever, and he was saying, here's what you should do, that's one thing. And then what he is doing is he's not claiming to be a doctor, he's not claiming to be an expert, he's really just claiming to be a guy with an opinion trying to have a conversation about these topics. It is whether or not you take what Joe Rogan says as advice is on you, because he's not packaging it as advice, right? He isn't packaging his opinions as advice, and so you have a right to take his opinions as advice.
Right. But listen,
but it isn't.
This is what I could see this as.
Right.
I could see this being like as if Joe Rogan suddenly went, I'm pro censorship in some way. Mm-hmm. If Joe Rogan came on a podcast and he said, "Oh, I'm pro censorship for this," people would be like, "What the fuck? That is contrary to everything you've said up to this point." It's kind of like with this guy.
No,
that's the way I look at it. That's from what I've seen from the information.
Okay, but
I don't have enough information.
What's the logical fallacy? It's a false equivalence. It's a complete false equivalence.
But how so, though?
Because a political opinion.
But hold on. But he's
is rooted
also,
in philosophy.
But was he not also his stance was basically one thing and then he kind of went off of it?
Okay. Here's how I would frame it. Right.
Again, I'm talking about mass. Honestly, I'm talking about mass because I don't know this guy.
I'm gonna use a hockey analogy as you typically do.
Of course you do.
Right. So you got the Toronto Maple Leafs. Tomorrow night they're playing the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit.
Are they actually playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is based in truth. Okay, here we go.
Detroit is not a very good hockey team.
They're not. Really?
Not right now.
Oh wow, fuck, that's weird.
So if I'm going to come here and I say Leafs should easily win tomorrow night. They should easily. No problem. The Leafs are great. They're going to win tomorrow night. Okay. And then next weekend when they play Tampa Bay, who has won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row, and I say, you know what? I think my money's on Tampa this week. That isn't me all of a sudden pivoting. That's the conditions are different, and so my opinion is shifted from the Leafs should win to the Leafs might lose.
I agree with
based
that.
on right.
I agree with that completely.
But do you understand that dynamic of
I
like
do. Now,
petition?
But is this site like the Leafs are the best site?
Right, but
you know what I mean?
Kevin isn't.
I don't know what.
Always,
that's why I asked you the question. I don't know this. It's the first I've even heard.
Yeah.
This
So all I'm saying, I'm trying to. Man, fucking.
I know burps. We should have called this the Gassy Podcast.
Yeah, the burpy podcast.
At least they're not the farty podcast. This would be disgusting for us, not for people.
It'd
be funny for people.
You'd be laughing as
we're all like, oh, the fuck.
We'll put our fucking COVID masks on just to not smoke. But me, Kevin, always has been, and it's sort of an educational thing, where he is trying to inform people, right? So his videos at first were about real estate. So he'll do videos about like, if you're buying real estate, here's some things to look for in a property.
Okay. That's cool.
Here's some things to look for if you're trying to flip something, or if you're trying to, if you want to increase your value really quick, or what to look for in tenants, stuff like that.
Sure.
Then he shifts into the stock market, and then it's not so much about, and he's very, very vocal about this. He's not telling you to buy this stock or to sell this stock, but he will do a video on, say, Tesla, where he goes over all of the facts. Okay, here's their production numbers, here's their earnings, all the fucking earnings data that gets released, statements from Elon Musk or whatever, right? He's putting the information. He's giving you the information, and he's not telling you what to do, and he's very specific about, I am not telling you what to do. He is also simultaneously telling you what he is doing, which I think is very admirable. A lot of these... It's
kind of courageous in a way.
A lot of these financial guys are doing that now, where they're kind of publicizing their positions and the trades that they make, which I think is very admirable, because you get somebody... Because Kevin will do a video on Tesla, and you can tell that Kevin likes Tesla. And then you can see, he is, in fact, buying Tesla.
But conversely on that point, like someone like say Elon Musk, I know these guys don't have the same reach, but someone like Elon Musk who will tweet something about Bitcoin and tank Bitcoin, that's fucking bullshit. So, like, there's power there, too. There's power to be respected, because if a guy has the kind of influence, and I don't know this guy at all, like that was my original point. If he has influence over, if they've got 1 million subscribers, let's say, if they do, I don't know what they do, but if they have 1 million subscribers, and let's say, I
think at one point he was getting 1 million views a day.
Well, there you go. But that's a lot of fucking people to sway.
That's how he got a $20 million stock portfolio. Don't think for a second he got that from making good trades.
Right. So that might be like
some
people,
of that he was doing well in the
people
market,
might be like, hey, this guy's a fucking fraud. This guy said one thing for a long period of time, then he changes it. It's almost like somebody who
Right,
sells a book about getting rich.
But that's my point.
Right? And they've never been rich.
But
they
that's
got rich
my
on the
point.
book.
That's my point. People will have that perspective, and that perspective is wrong. And it's what's the right? It's almost pathological. Like when conditions shift, you should expect your positions to change. And so,
but it's like someone being ahead of you though. Like they're keeping you slightly behind them. That's what it would feel like to the viewers. They're watching and they're like, you're kind of keeping me here, and then you're making a fucking decision based contrary on what you've been saying for how long, and I'm sitting here holding the fucking flag, and you make a contrary decision to what you told me.
Right. So again, that's why I want to put why I think this is very dangerous, or a dangerous sign. Because people should not be doing that.
Well, but they should not be.
But
80% of people are followers.
Right. So what does that say about the current market conditions if you have all of these people who are not, paying attention to these financial YouTubers from a perspective of like kind of like what I do. Like I'll listen, I want to know what their opinions are.
Yeah.
Right. Just to broaden my perspective on things and, maybe make financial decisions for myself. But I am certainly not mimicking trades made by any of these guys. I'm just listening to what they have to say about things because I find the topic interesting or whatever, and I personally want to understand more.
Sometimes you should mimic their trades because they got
obviously sometimes,
yeah.
but that's the same for everything.
And that's
right?
What's sad about this fucking our market.
Do you remember several months ago you Mike and I were talking? What was it? It's like the beginning of October. We were having a fire out there. I said buy. As a joke, I said buy $400 SPY puts.
Yeah.
At the time that I said that, they were $500 an option. Earlier this week, they were $800. Now, granted, they went down to like $100. So you put any money into that, it would have almost all been gone at one point in time.
Yeah.
But it came back, and I was right.
Yeah.
And if you had taken my advice, right? But that's true for everything, right? So sometimes you should listen to things. Sometimes maybe you got lucky. Maybe you were onto something. Whatever.
It's just you got to be careful with influence, right? Like we're dealing. This is the whole like we're on.
Again.
But we're on a brand new sort of frontier now with influence. The influence we have on the internet now is crazy, and a lot of people haven't caught up yet. You've got people that think about it. People that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They didn't live with internet in their 20s and 30s, basically, right? Like it wasn't a thing. Maybe even into their 40s, they didn't live with it. So now they're getting information like this, right? And some of that information's coming from like trusted sources, even like you might watch something and you get all this information and then you pass it along to your grandparents or parents or something and they go, well, I trust Tyler. So of course. That's what I'm saying. Like you got to be careful with information that you're not using it for bad purposes.
That's why I think personally watching Meet Kevin, I think that he's very good. He's very good with presenting his videos and framing his videos as, hey, this is my opinion. Here's the facts. Here's the opinions. Here's the facts. Because you'll go over earnings reports and earnings transcripts and stuff like that, right? And at the same time as saying, I am not giving you financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you.
What kind of hot water is he in?
He's not in any hot water.
Well, I mean,
he's just
is he
being
going to
criticized.
But I mean, is he going to lose his channel or anything like
that?
No.
He's not in trouble in that sense. He just people are mad.
Then what he needs to do is he needs to do what Rogan does all the time.
And not give a shit.
Don't fucking read any of this shit.
I think that is what he's doing because I don't think he's really coming.
I mean, I don't know anything about this. So
at the end of the day, my broader point is it's. I think that is a scary sign for the kind of financial environment that we're in. If you have all these people, I think we have a lot of people in the market who are in the market.
A lot of bad players
blindly.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's
they're
always
following.
Been the case.
Yeah, but they're.
But that used to be okay.
It's so much more accessible.
But that used to be okay because that used to be you had money managers that would take care of those people's money. Yeah. Right, but now you're right. Though.
Now you have people
now
who
you have
buy.
Now you have like Quest Trade or all these different things.
But it's not even just that.
But that didn't used to exist before.
It's not even just. It's just the accessibility, right? The accessibility I think is good because it gives you the ability to kind of do stuff on your own, and that's how I've done well doing that. But
they're pushing people to do it on their own.
They're not pushing it.
Well, I think they are. They're advertising like crazy. That's a way of pushing people.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you now have people who will it's really stupid to do this, but you have people who will, Meet Kevin, someone like Meet Kevin will, and Jeremy, they'll post a video about sort of Tesla's upcoming earnings report. They'll be like, here's what we're looking for. Here's what I think is going to happen based on these numbers, and blah blah blah. And here's what I think is going to happen if they report this, and if they report this, here's what's going to happen. These
Stop burping.
I can't. They'll do all these in-depth videos in something like that, right? And these people in particular will be, they're not. They don't beat around the bush about whether or not they personally like a stock, but they do a good job in separating their videos. Doo-doo. And so, but you'll get people, Meet Kevin will do a video about Tesla's upcoming earnings, and someone will watch that video, and they'll buy Tesla call options that expire the same week as the earnings, not understanding the mechanics behind options and implied volatility and all that jazz, and they'll lose a shit ton of money just because they'd have no idea what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway. Like, you should understand how these instruments work before you use them. That's at least.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and we've had these conversations before, and it's like. And
so I do think that is inflating the market.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. So what
could be a bad sign.
So what do you do? Do you put more regulations on the market?
No, I think you short the market. I think if you're smart, you short
but then
the market.
There's gonna be a ton of people that do the opposite, and they lose a bunch of money.
That's right, and that's what's happening.
I think the market's gone too crazy, and we talked about this before.
It's absolutely lost
with options. I think options should not be a thing. I don't think you should options trade at all. I think it should be illegal completely on the. I
don't agree with that at all.
Well, what purpose does that serve?
You have the option to make leveraged plays.
Well, yeah, but then I'm saying, what purpose long term does that serve? It's just some asshole making money based on a gamble either way. Either a stock's going to go up or going to go down.
Well,
it's not really based on anything. It's gaming. It's gaming the market.
No, well, weekly options are.
It's gaming the market.
Weeklies.
Well, okay. Yeah, of course.
Well, you buy an option that with a 6-month expiration date. It's a different thing than buying an option that expires, next Tuesday.
That's a little different. But I'm saying, but if you can't just pick and choose. You got to just throw it all out. I think if you can't just be like, 1 month options are fine or 6 month options are fine, but you can't do weekly options.
No, I think you should be allowed to do all of it. I'm very pro freedom, and I just would say maybe you shouldn't do some.
But then you're not protecting the. You're not protecting the. I don't want to say stupid people, but I want to say the people that are stupid to the market. Like I just think like we have to do something in society to say, look, we got your back. We don't want you to be able to like what we do with scammers.
That's why I think we should redesign high school.
No, I couldn't agree more. There's so many different things. Yeah, there's
because the education system is almost.
Why are we teaching people about?
It's like built around making good factory workers. What we really, that's less of an important thing.
Do you want to hear a class I took in grade 11? Media English.
Media English. What does that even imply?
You know what that was? What? We watched the movies. We watched movies and then we wrote little reports about the movie. Essentially, we just did a little fucking.
They should be teaching people.
What I'm saying,
they should teach people about the stock market. Like you should graduate high school on knowing what a call option is.
You should have there should be two compulsory, like stock 101 and stock 102. And you should learn all about the market.
There should be market courses, investing things. If you come into a lot of money, what do you do? Like if we had a population of people who didn't need to go to a financial advisor if they came into a bunch of money, I think that we'd just be better off as a society.
Why did I have to take French in grade 9?
Yeah,
Did I ever fucking use it? If you were going to make me take French the whole way through. From grade 1 to grade 12. Yeah. And then I would learn French. If you were going to do that, why throw it like, here, we're going to just basically teach you le, la, les, and all this fucking bullshit.
They don't teach you how to do taxes or
but we're not going to teach anything that's important. We're just going to teach you
all the important stuff is just
I couldn't agree more. What I'm saying though is about the market. What I'm saying is because it's a big thing. You're talking about people's money, and you don't want people to fuck around. And this whole new idea now where people are like these commercials are coming out for like Quest Trade or all these different things where it's like they're encouraging people to take their money away from the banks and the advisors and do it themselves. What, are you fucking stupid? Would you encourage someone to, would you say to somebody, hey, don't hire a professional electrician to wire up your house. Just do it yourself. You have zero fucking experience. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Go ahead and do it. Like if you're handy and you could learn it, then okay.
I would say if you know how to do it, I would say do that.
Right. What I'm saying though
so financially, I think it would say if someone's looking at, it's like, oh man, I really like this company. I think they're going places. I would say, oh well, sign off for one of these things and put some money into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never advise.
But then why not?
Then why not
do limits? Why not say to somebody, look? Then what they should do is they should have these sites, and these sites, let's say Questrade and these kinds of sites, they regulate it this way. They say, all right, we don't want people losing their fucking shirt in the market and stuff. So you have to prove that you're competent in the market. So when you first start, you have say $1,000 limit. You can trade, but you can trade up to $1,000, no more than that. You got to prove through your trades that you're sound on that. And now if you make a lot of stupid trades, we're not going to kick you out and say you're done. We're going to give you a time period and say, all right, you can now try again and that kind of stuff. Control it in that way where you don't let somebody just fucking blow their wad in the market when they completely don't know. They have to actually prove that they have some competence.
I don't agree with that at all just because I'm very pro-freedom.
Yeah, but you know what though?
I think you should be allowed to just blow your wad in the market when you don't know what you're doing.
But we have a societal...
Just like I think you should be allowed, right? You have equity in property or whatever. I think you should be allowed to liquidate all of that, walk into the casino and put it on red.
Yeah,
I think you have the right to do that.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna.
I say that's retarded.
You know what? Hold on a second.
But you have a right.
I might not be explaining my position properly, because
you are advocating for restricting
but
freedom.
I'm with you because I'm with you about being able to do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But it's the unsuspecting that I have the problem with. Okay. So if you decide you okay, for example,
I don't agree with painting a picture.
I know, but hold on. But for example, I don't know how to explain this. I'm missing my explanation because I'm going against my own idea because I do believe in freedom. Now, so for example, with euthanizing. Euthanizing.
Yeah.
We have to prove that you're sound of mind to be able to kill yourself. And they also want you to, there's a time period. I think it's a month or something like that. You have to be terminally ill. There's all these different things. I don't agree with those kinds of things. Because I think if freedom of choice to say, I want to kill myself, you should be able to kill yourself.
I think you have a right to do that. Or you should have a right to do that.
But you have to be sound of mind. There has to be some proof that you're sound of mind. It would be the same, like getting into the market. You have to be sound of mind, because if you're going to just go and blow your money and then fuck your whole life up and hold on, just let me make this point before you get into it. Something else, 'cause I don't want to lose this point. And you go and fuck up your whole situation. Now we, as a society, or somebody, has to take care of you because you've blown everything. Now you're no longer self-sustainable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now your freedom becomes my fucking problem. That's where the caveat is for me, right? You know what I mean? Like
how would my freedom affect
somebody has to take care of you?
Your problem.
Because now you're going to go on, say, welfare or something like that to eat because you blew all your fucking money stupidly. You know what I mean? And now you're my problem.
I don't necessarily agree that we should have a welfare state. I mean, if we can afford it, we can do it. But I don't think it's that big.
Now you're getting into some really, into some really fucking libertarian ideas.
Yeah, pretty libertarian when you break it down. But what I was going to say is, I think that falls on to. This is where I'm not really a Christian, but this is where the Christian side of me comes out. I think it's in your family. You should have a good family structure.
I don't know. You know the funny thing about humans, everybody, you, me, everybody, we're all a little bit hypocritical. We have ideas, right? Mm-hmm. You have this idea about something, but you can't see it through because there's so many fucking nuances to the idea. Like I have this idea of that.
It's a little bit complicated.
Right. So when you break it right down, I'm advocating for some control where I see fit. For that control, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I advocate for you not treading on me, because I believe in my sound mind, and I can make decisions based on my sound mind to make those decisions.
I think that's why, in a broader sense, this is more my broad political philosophy. Right. We should emphasize freedom, because I think at the end of the day, if we have prosperous society, or like if we have freedom as our primary sort of axiom, we're going to have a prosperous society. I think the United States is a testament to that, because that's what they did, right? They're like, no, we're going to do freedom over here. And then they became the wealthiest country in the world.
But what do you do about, like, say, vagrants deciding they want to shoot up in the middle of the street and stuff, or live in a tent?
Well, if you want to say, okay, you can't do that here, you got to go somewhere else, then you can forcefully move them. I don't agree with putting them in jail. I do think that a part of that is we could have certain institutions in place, and they can be private. They don't have to be public institutions.
What if they don't want to?
I don't think they should have to.
Then what if they want to? What if they want to park a tent right on the middle of the road?
Right. So that's where I would agree with saying I would agree with drawing lines and being like, okay,
those are controls.
In here,
those are controls, though.
Yeah. I'm not completely against controls, but I'm trying to minimize them as much as possible.
And that's what I'm saying with, like, the market. Put some minimalistic controls to protect people. Not really, though. It's kind of the Wild West at this point now.
Well, it's nothing like
it started with a lot of controls, but like since like I don't even know when the first one started to degrade, but 2008 was a big one. After that, holy shit, man! We saw some shit
because they just started printing all the money,
right? So like a lot of shit changed, right? So that's what I mean. Like,
but like at the end of the day, what I was gonna say is like if you decide to just go and take everything and throw it on black and lose,
like that one guy did. There was a guy that did that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You didn't hear about that guy?
Took
like
everything.
200. Yeah, it was like $200,000 or something like that, and he put it on fucking red or black. I can't remember.
He didn't even put it on like 34.
Look it up
to try to make like a couple mil.
He
put it on red and black.
I don't know what his play was, but that's there was a fucking whole thing. That was years ago.
That's ballsy.
You fucking know.
What happened to him?
I think he lost it. I'm pretty sure he lost it.
No, but
I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't know. I
feel like
I just remember the story. I remember
that sounds like something you do when you're like about at the edge and you're like, fuck it.
I know.
I'm gonna throw everything, and I'm either gonna have a good time. Make a bunch of money,
myself.
Or end it. Yeah. End it tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's on you, right? You can do that, and that's on you. And if you're in the streets because of it, that's on you.
But you're in my streets.
Yeah.
And your streets.
So here's the thing. If we have a decently prosperous society, which I think we get through prioritizing freedom, there will be employment opportunities.
But what if they don't want to work?
Well, then that's...
What do we do with those people is what I'm saying. Because there are a lot of people like that.
I think at a certain point...
They don't want to work. They want to do drugs all fucking day, and they want to panhandle in the middle of the street.
At a certain point, we can support them. We're not at that point. We're not anywhere close to that point. But at a certain level of prosperity, I think that can happen. But...
I think if you get to that certain level of prosperity,
at a certain point, I keep saying at a certain point.
I think you ostracize.
You do ostracize them. There has to be a social
like you kick
stigma.
them out of society. You're like, look,
yeah.
This is,
so that's what I'm saying. You draw a line. You'd be like, okay, you can live that life. We're not going to put you in jail for doing heroin. No, we're not going to do that. You can do heroin if you want, but you can't do it here.
But then you have to have like gated communities and these kinds of things. No, how are you going to keep them out?
No, with the police. Right, so you're walking down the street. There's a guy. You call the cops. The cops goes to pick up because like, hey, we see you here again. We're throwing you in jail. We're taking you out of the fucking circle.
But
whatever the circle is.
And then
they end up in jail.
They have done that. That's what they used to do.
And then I think
that's what they were doing in the 80s in New York.
At that point, you put them in jail.
Hey, that's what they were doing in the 80s in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all through.
There's like a circle.
You
like a
you ever heard of you ever heard of how bad Times Square was?
No.
In the 80s and shit. The 70s, I think 70s and 80s. It was a fucking. It was a free for all, like a sexual.
That's crazy.
Fucking. I mean,
you learn about New York, and it's like it's so romanticized in the movies.
New York was
compared to
Times
what
Square
it is.
was fucked. Times Square basically.
Yeah.
There was tons of prostitution. There was tons of like sex, like those like peep show places and stuff. Mm-hmm. Tons of that shit going on. It was just gross. It was fucking drugs. Like there was basically a whole stretch in New York.
It was pretty bad for organized crime too. Even earlier than that.
Well, that's why I think it was. I forget what mayor it was. Koch or no, it wasn't Koch. It would have been before Koch. I can't remember who it was. But in the 80s, they went hard on crime in New York. Like I mean, fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like the stop and frisk type shit, where they were just stopping people and just fucking just. But they cracked down on it hard, right? But you know, it set the tone, and now they're going the wrong way. But my point though is, that's what they were doing. They were basically giving people, you know, they put them in jail maybe a night. And be like, okay, the next time, like now it's a second offense.
There is something to be said about just not making it illegal to do drugs, because where did they do that? The Philippines? No, not the Philippines. The Philippines, they like overly criminalized drugs. No, not Amsterdam. Fuck, they're
Thailand.
No, I don't know. There was a place where they just, I think they've done it maybe in a couple more places now, but they completely decriminalize drugs. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not, you know, if they catch you doing certain drugs, that they don't like take you and try to rehabilitate, but they don't throw you in jail and they don't take away your life, and, you know, give you a criminal record. And there was a place that did it first. In that place, like just, it stopped. Or it didn't necessarily stop being a problem, but the problem was significantly reduced. I think a part of that is the stigma. Or like when you become, say, a cocaine addict in the United States, where cocaine is illegal. Now you gotta keep your head down. You're underground. You're doing that, right? You can't necessarily go. You know, in some instances you can in some places, but you got to be very cautious because if you get caught, you're gonna end up in jail.
Right. Yeah.
And for a serious sentence too. Like the punishments are not light. And so, if you were to decriminalize that, I think what you'll have is a lot of people who develop that problem, right? Because you'll have people who will go out and have fun, but that's not a problem. Like if you and I decide to, we're gonna do some blow tonight. Yeah. Right. That's not a problem. We can have some fun.
Which I don't do, by the way. Anybody's watching, never done, and I won't.
Only on Tuesdays. He does it on Tuesdays.
I should never done.
But we can do that, and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Right. But then maybe we do it too many times, and it becomes a problem, and you develop an addiction, and now that addiction is a problem. If we lived in a society where it wasn't criminalized, you can get help, because I think a lot of people want help. A lot of people, they don't like the fact that they're addicted to these things, but they are. That they have a physical dependency. And so if you sort of build up an infrastructure where you can go and you'd be like, I have a problem, I need help. Yeah. And you know that you're not going to end up in jail and they're going to help you. I think a lot of people will willingly seek that out. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people will, and it reduces it as a strain on society.
It's the bad players that always screw everything up, man. That's what it is. I know what you're saying, but okay. So, do you think, if you look at society now, right? And we've talked about this before with religion.
I try not to.
Yeah, no. But if you look at as religion has been pulled out more and more out of culture, out of
traditional
religion. That's what, of course, I'm saying traditional. Yeah. And more freedom has been introduced. Like, look now. Marijuana's legal, right? Abortion legal, you know, things like that people are. These are like hot button topics that people are like polarized about. One person's on one side and another person's on an absolute other side, right? Do you think it's helped us long term, or do you think it's kind of hindered us?
It depends on on the metric that we're using. I think marijuana legalization helps. In a certain sense. And
I agree
because
personally
I think there are a lot of people who use it in a way that it helps them.
Yeah.
And it really
marijuana's a different thing. Marijuana is better than cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
But cigarettes are legal. But I'm saying, but then if you're talking about, like, let's say meth, let's say crack cocaine, like we're talking about some fucking crazy shit. If you legalize that shit, or at least take away the criminality of it.
Well,
then hold on, but let me just make this point before you get into that, because I know you're going to make a long point. If you take away the criminalistic end of it, then you're not necessarily incentivizing people, but you're not de-incentivizing them either.
That's the unintuitive nature of the result. When you decriminalized marijuana usage went down. Mm-hmm. I think that happens.
You think that'll happen? You think that would happen with meth and stuff? I don't think so.
Yes.
Why?
Because when it was done with marijuana, when it was done with all drugs in certain places, all those things went down. I think the data suggests that. Maybe you can argue that there's not enough data. They didn't do it in the United States with a 300 million population.
If you're fucking wrong about something like that, like, okay, so look at opioids, the opioid crisis. People are looking to get fucking high. People are looking to get out of their head about different shit.
Yeah, that's largely artificial.
But hold on. Something like marijuana is benign. How many fucking people do you know have ever overdosed on marijuana?
Zero.
Right.
So if they're wrong,
that's what I'm saying. So if they're wrong, if they're wrong on that, right? And marijuana use went up, so what? Ooh, so some people got got high. But let's say if you're wrong about the other one, you're wrong about fucking meth.
Okay, but now
and it goes up,
again,
and you got kids taking.
That's what
meth.
I'm saying. You're taking the unintuitive route. It's like, okay, well, we did it, it went down, but you're saying, but it might not. It's like, okay, but
it's too much of a gamble.
It's
too much of a gamble. It's too fucking risky if it doesn't. Now we've created an epidemic with a hard drug, not just something benign like marijuana.
Well, it's been done.
Well, look at smoking. Look at smoking. It's not gone anywhere. It's fully legal. It's not gone anywhere.
I think
it's not going anywhere.
I think it's actually down.
It is on a bit of a decline,
but it's kind of more and more stigmatized.
Not a crazy decline. It went on a crazy decline from like the 50s and 60s or something, or 70s maybe. Whenever they stopped advertising like crazy,
right?
It had a steep. This was something we should actually check out. It had a steep decline, but then I think it basically kind of leveled out. Like you have a strange. I think it's in women it's something like 30. It's somewhere in the low 30% that smoke, and in men I think it's a little higher. And I think the reason why it's a little higher in men is because men have like construction jobs and these kinds of jobs that they typically will do that, and they can do it while they're working, so they do it more. It's something like this. I don't quote me on this shit. Somebody's gonna check me on this and go, "You're fucking wrong." But I think it's something like this. I know I've looked at it before. I used to have to know this stuff a little bit when I was an insurance salesman, because I had to know I had to know this shit anyway. But it was stuff that we actually would study. But anyways, so what I mean though is, or my point, my original point was, they legalized it, and it kind of just flattened out. But if you get that happening with like a hard drug, that's like the opioid crisis. Like it's fucking, like it's legal shit. It should be illegal completely. All this shit, perks and fucking OxyContin and all these fuckers should be illegal. It's fucking crazy. Like this is not something that we should allow people or be prescribing to people.
Well, that's where I would say it should not be being prescribed to people. Like, again, I think you should allow people to do whatever they want.
But we live in a society though, and then your problem becomes my problem.
Not
if you're
if
fucking
society
stoned
is
out on the
properly.
street, and listen, and you know I have a I hate to say it because it's this touchy subject a little bit, but I have a unique perspective on this because I have a very personal perspective on this, right?
You do.
So those people become your fucking problem. It's like, so it's easy to say it from a position where you're not.
My position from the perspective that it hasn't been done, and where it was done, the issue got better. That's
what do you mean? Like you're talking about marijuana?
All drugs. Marijuana, yes, is a singular example.
What other drugs are you talking about?
No, all like I forget the place. I told you there's a place.
Okay.
There's a place where they did this, and I forget. Like I want to say the Philippines, but I feel like the Philippines they're like, they're really strict against drugs. I think.
So what would change it though? What would be the change?
I think people get into it because it's like a no thing. I think that there's a taboo, and then you get addicted. Especially like, okay, my personal experience kind of led me to this thought. You go to high school, and they're like drugs are bad, okay? That's like their thing, drugs are bad, okay? And that's the full extent. They don't educate. They'll be like, okay, well, weed is one thing, and meth is another thing. They don't really.
Yeah, they rope in all drugs.
Yeah.
Together, yeah. I agree.
And so then you go to university, college, whatever, right? You try weed for the first time because weed's everywhere. and you realize, oh, this is nothing. Right. And then you're me personally, I was surrounded by people who were like stoned 24/7. It's like, oh, these people are functioning. Like they're not. Maybe if you get too stoned, right, you're on the couch or whatever. But in general, these people, they're doing well in school. They're fine.
You're also not taking into one factor too, the difference between someone who's doesn't have an addictive personality and someone who does have an addictive personality.
Oh, you definitely have a lot of people who had addictive personalities.
But I'm saying, those type of people will push the envelope.
Okay, but you're talking right past my point. It's completely unrelated. You go there and you see all these people doing this and they're completely functional, and you tried and it's like you're fine. It's like it's nothing basically, right? Sure. It's an experience. So then you maybe question everything that you've been sort of told, everything that sort of what you were indoctrinated to believe about drugs, and then that gets you to maybe like, oh well, weed was nothing because weed's the most. It is nothing, and so that's probably why it's everywhere. And then when other things come along, you are going to be more willing to try those things. And
but that's the idea. That's the idea based on that we don't have any information. We're a hub of information. I think anybody who has half a brain understands the difference between meth and fucking weed. And anybody who's taking meth at some point knows that shit's fucked. They just have this hubris in them that says, oh, I'm not going to be the one that gets addicted to that. I'm not going to take this. I'll take it one time. Then they take it and they go, this fucking blew my mind. This was way different than I expected it to be. And then they do it because they have an addictive personality versus someone like you and I, maybe that would be like, oh, I'd try that one time. Be like, oh, okay, that's enough. Like, I know what that's about and I'm not going to take it again. You know what I mean? When I said, so it's, I get your libertarian point of view. But at the same time, if we're wrong and we put this shit out and say, yeah, it's fine, just go ahead and take it and shit, and people go, oh, fuck it, I'll try it.
It was Portugal.
Oh, it's Portugal? That's not surprising.
They were the first one.
Portugal...
And they had a really bad drug problem.
I think they have a 30-hour work week, by the way. Portugal.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
That's probably why they have such a shitty economy. Anyways. So
yeah,
they tried it. And
the headline is, since it decriminalized all drugs in 2001, Portugal has seen dramatic drops in overdoses, HIV infection, and drug-related crime. The drug-related crime.
Well, obviously, duh.
If
that's so stupid.
If possession is a crime,
that's a self-fulfilling.
They could be talking about. They could be talking about like some guy coked up, robbing a liquor store.
No,
right?
I know, but they're not. They're just because
they probably aren't.
They just use a blanket term to sell what they're saying.
That's first. I think there are other countries that have done it, but yeah, my whole point is that it's been done and things improved. That's my perspective.
And maybe I'm not disagreeing with the idea.
I'm just saying that it seems like the data suggests that it would be a good idea. And then on top of that, what I would do if I was running society, if I was king of society, I would set up institutions to help people, because I do think that there are a lot of people who develop issues and it's the majority of people who develop issues who are afraid to go and get help for whatever reason.
I have an instance, by the way. That might be contrary to your idea.
Oh yeah, well you can find
look at LA. Look at LA. Right. So they used to have a very strict policy on homelessness where they would move them along. They would take their shit, literally throw their shit in the trash and move them along. They would put people in prison, things like, or in jail.
Sometimes they shipped them out of state.
Yeah, they shipped them out of state. They did all that shit. Now they got rid of that, and they're inundated now with homeless. Tent cities all over the place and shit. So, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you make that decision to decriminalize or
I think they get money though.
Well, maybe.
I think they get money from the government. So I think that there might be some bad policies. I think there are things that maybe incentivize that lifestyle. You get your unemployment check or whatever, and then you go buy drugs, and you're like, I could just live in the streets. It's Los Angeles. It's nice out.
But we do know, like, anytime you give people freedoms of like defunding the police in different states that defunded the police, crime went up. It's not like crime, like using your argument, you think that crime would have gone down because they said, oh, we're going to take away the criminalization.
That's not my argument, because my argument is.
Well, you're saying that drug usage would go down.
No, my argument is drug usage has gone down in at least one place where it was decriminalized. It's not. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
guaranteed
No,
to
no,
happen. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to eliminate the problem. I'm just saying
I know you're not saying that,
here's
but
an example
I get it.
of what happened.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying it's a
and
big.
why I would move in that direction.
It's a big experiment, though, and it's a different. I mean, if you.
Yeah. But
you're comparing you're comparing Portugal to Portugal is a very small economy. It's a very small. I mean,
again, yeah, it depends how society is run too.
And they're heavily tourist.
Because the other thing about LA, it's like fuck, you can't get a job. Like, you get a job, but it's not a good job. You know, it's so okay. But when I say you can't get a job, it's expensive to live there. So you can't go and if you want to be there. You can't go and hey, here's a factory job where you're gonna make enough money where you can you can pay your rent and you can have a car and you can eat well, you can be comfortable, right? You can have some fun here and there. Yeah. You can't do that in California, and there are so many other policies that go into creating that environment that I think it's a very, very, very nuanced, multi-factor issue, I guess is the conclusion.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to wrap this up pretty quick because for one, we got some company coming and I gotta piss like an asshole.
Piss too.
And be careful when you stop these things because you stop them at weird fucking times. By the way, you stop. I guess it must it does something where you stop it and it cuts the video off a lot earlier than you've stopped it.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. The last time I watched the thing, I've never actually. This is the first time I watched one straight through. It ended before we finished because I know there was at least another 20, 30 seconds of us talking that was cut right off. It was all of us actually promoting ourselves. That was all cut out.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing was cut out. So I'll say it now.
Say it now. We'll leave it running.
We have to leave it running and talk about something else. Yeah. Subscribe, please.
Please subscribe. He's begging.
Yeah, I'm begging. No, subscribe if you like
comment,
us. Subscribe, comment. I love comments.
Join us every week.
Yeah, I love comments, by the way. I'd like to reply to some comments, especially about some of the stuff that we said in the last little bit.
We got called Satanists on BitChute. We get more views on BitChute than any
Satanists?
other platform. Yeah, I'll read you the comment.
That's funny.
Hold on, finish your thing, and we'll while we wait, I'll read you the comment.
Yeah, we'll be much better about being on time,
being
on
scheduled,
podcast, on schedule,
being disciplined.
I would say we're probably looking at a 6 p.m. start. Would be more where we'd be aiming on Fridays. So look for us around 6 p.m. on Fridays. That's when we'll be doing a live podcast. So if you want to get on and actually throw some chats in the mix, then we'll respond.
To the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. If you got a contrary point to make about something we're saying, please say it. We're not so rigid.
We like to argue.
Yeah, we do like to argue.
If you want to come and argue, do a little arguing.
Obviously, as you can tell, we get chirpy with each other.
Oh, yeah.
But then we smile about it. We don't care.
We'll get chirpy with you, too.
And you see how chirpy he gets sometimes where he cuts me right the fuck off?
Chip. You do the same thing, all right?
I do, but I do it nicely.
Yeah,
you're mean about it.
Well, I'm more...
And then you call me stupid and stuff.
To the point, well, when you're stupid, you're going to hear about it.
I'm going to punch him right square in his face. One time on camera.
One time on camera. We'll get enough viewers. We'll do a live boxing match.
The next time we're sitting beside each other.
It'll be bigger than Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather.
Is he fighting Mike Tyson, by the way?
I don't know.
He was supposed to.
Yeah, they were talking about it. I don't know.
No, it was set to go. Apparently, early 2020 or 2022. I mean, so I don't know, but I don't know if it's still happening or not. I want to see that happen. That'd be amazing.
4 hours ago, there's an article. Mike Tyson unsure whether he will fight again despite links with Logan and Jake Paul.
Nah. Yeah. Oh, well, whatever.
So, yeah.
I just want to see. I don't know. I'd like to see him get punched, though.
Yeah,
so what were you saying about the thing?
Someone commented. So this is on the clip that I posted. That was
lick your lips,
titled,
by the way. You got a little bit of mummer going on. Yeah, there you go. Dry lips.
The video is titled "Discussing My Crazy Idea to Solve Political Corruption." It was a while ago when I talked about that. One of the comments on the video is some guy, "Lol, this ant in your face, the Eye of Horus in the triangle, Satanists piss off." I responded. I really wanted the guy to respond to my comment.
You responded?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said, "Lol, what?" First of all, it's the Eye of Providence, because it is.
Yeah.
But I'm genuinely curious about your point of view here. I wanted him to respond because I genuinely want.
He's just trolling you.
Someone that says something like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you come to that conclusion? And I want to talk to you. I want to hear.
I love trolls.
How you come to that
conclusion.
Especially
when you can, like, if they do it on the live.
Satanist. The Eye of Providence and in the triangle is like the triangle represents the Holy Trinity of what God the Father, the Holy Spirit. Like Satanist.
That's hilarious. Well, hey, we're Satanists.
Apparently.
Wow.
Allegedly,
yeah.
Listen, we're not confirming anything. We're allegedly Satanists.
Well, we're Satanists that are going to say